Chapter 609. Jiang Qi, who rushed over from outside the courtyard, happened to see this scene. He was startled and thought to himself, this Xiao Chen is becoming more and more unfathomable. Xiao Chen had noticed Jiang Qi long ago. He wiped the sweat off his forehead and walked over. First Elder, are you looking for me? Jiang Qi recovered his wits and smiled. Yes, let me tell you about the Kunlun realm first. This time, the top 20 of the True Dragon ranking are all qualified to enter the upper realm. After cultivating for half a year, they can follow the envoy to the Kunlun realm. A contemplative look appeared in Xiao Chen's eyes as he muttered to himself, there is only half a year. I wonder if I can break through to Martial Monarch. Although Xiao Chen's cultivation was only a step away from peak consummation half-step Martial Monarch, he felt that it was still very far away. His essence did not feel like it was reaching a bottleneck. Jiang Qi took out a few more things and said, this is the True Dragon ranking list. You can take a look. The remaining ones are the invitations of the 10 great sections. Aside from the Evil Moon Pavilion, the other 9 great sects have been requesting to meet you. In the past 3 days, there had been an endless stream of people seeking to meet Xiao Chen. Aside from the invitations of the 10 great sects, Jiang Qi rejected all the others. If Jiang Qi wanted to meet everyone, Xiao Chen would not be able to rest in peace. As for the Evil Moon Pavilion, there was too much enmity between them and Xiao Chen. Even though Xiao Chen was a king-grade True Dragon genius, he could not lower himself to meet the Evil Moon Pavilion. However, Xiao Chen did not care about this. He first held the True Dragon ranking list in his hand and looked at the invitations of the other great sections. Xiao Chen was not in a rush to receive them. After thinking for a while, he accepted the invitation of the Haotian sect. He had no desire to look at the invitations of the other great sections. Seeing that Xiao Chen had made his choice, Jiang Qi did not linger any longer. He took his leave after saying goodbye. The True Dragon ranking list had golden borders. The main body was scarlet, and the words, True Dragon ranking, were written on the front. Xiao Chen opened it and took a look. There were not many words on the first page, only a drawing. The background of the drawing was the deep night sky. A white-robed person stood in the air. This was Xiao Chen himself. A 30-meter-long golden dragon hovered above his head. The painter's skill was very high. He managed to vividly portray Xiao Chen's king's aura at that time. The atmosphere was rendered to perfection. It was obvious that the entire painting was meticulously crafted. The artist was very skilled. He managed to bring out Xiao Chen's king very well. The atmosphere was very perfect. Xiao Chen, the champion of this 5-nation youth competition, a disciple of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Qingyun Peak. He became famous in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion with one battle, defeating the disciples of the Holy Lands and the noble clans of the Great Qin nation by himself. Xiao Chen had not lost to anyone of had Xiao Chen's Qi, had not lost. Since the start of the elimination rounds of this 5-nation youth competition, Xiao Chen had won all the way, never tasting defeat. Be it sect geniuses or noble clan scions, he defeated them all. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and continued reading. Needless to say, the second rank was Chu Chaoyun. So, he skipped to the third rank. The third rank was somewhat strange. It was held by Shenyuan Zhantian and Sima Lingxian. The two of them had only lost 3 matches in the ranking matches. Hence, they had the same number of points. However, this was not too surprising. There had been similar cases in the past 5-nation youth competitions. Aside from the champion, the other rankings were all the same. As for the previous runner-up, Bai Qi, he only obtained the 5th rank. Close behind him were the Haotian sects Yu Chenxi, 7th and 8th, Wang Quan, and Li Tianhua. Gong Yangyu and Lu Xiaoyun were the most interesting. Their rankings were the same as the previous 5-nation youth competition, 9th and 10th respectively. Xiao Chen carefully looked at the top 10 rankings. The 8 noble clans' monopoly on the top 8 had been broken this time. Xiao Chen and Chu Chaoyun were the biggest dark horses. The two of them were from small sects in the Great Qin nation. However, they had been in the limelight in the competition, taking first and second place. After the top 10, the name list only had 4 people on it. It did not have the same treatment as the top 10. Even so, when the cultivators from the various corners of the Tianwu continent spread the name list, the cultivators with their names on it would gain some fame. In the future, they would most likely become the first elder of a sect or a hero. This small name list recorded all the people who could do anything in the Tianwu continent in the future. For example, Murong Chong. His name was ranked 87th. If he was willing, the position of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Jiang Qi would definitely be his. After memorizing the names of Bai, Kim Tae-ho, and the others, Xiao Qin put away the name list. Then, he focused his gaze on the Haotian sect's name list. Xiao Qin could roughly guess why the 10 great sects of the Great Jin Nation came to look for him. The 10 great sects of the Great Jin Nation were called super sections. One of the main reasons was that these sects still had their main sect in the Kunlun realm. The Tianwu continent was just a branch of their main sect, used to gather geniuses and expand the strength of their main sect. Back when Xiao Qin was on the island in the western Shallow Sea, the supreme elder of the Haotian sect had already extended an invitation to Xiao Qin, giving him a small Haotian medallion. However, Xiao Qin had not been in a rush to pick a side back then. Hence, he did not immediately agree. Now, Xiao Qin's strength had been thoroughly verified. He was a king-grade true dragon genius. If they could send Xiao Qin to the main sect of the Haotian sect in the Kunlun realm, it would undoubtedly strengthen the Haotian sect. The branch of the Haotian sect in the Tianwu continent would also gain many benefits. The sect master and elders would also receive many benefits. Xiao Qin, if you go, just agree to the other party. If Sangmu had a strong backer back then, he would not have ended up like that, Ao Jiao said softly from the lunar shadow saber. Her tone was filled with helplessness. When Xiao Qin heard this, he was slightly stunned. He asked, who exactly did the Thunder King offend in the past? Ao Jiao shook her head slightly and said, you don't have to care about this. You are not strong enough. Knowing will not do you any good. In the Kunlun realm, no matter how talented you are or how extraordinary your luck is, it is best not to be a lone ranger. I don't know about the other sects, but the Haotian sect has already become one of the 9 ranks of the great families, second only to the 3 holy masters 3,000 years ago. It is definitely not an ordinary small sect. After carefully considering Ao Jiao's words, Xiao Qin made a decision. He grasped the name card in his hand and said, in that case, let's go and take a look first. After the True Dragon ranking list was released, Dragon Sealing City would close its gates the next day. The next time it would open for guests would be 3 years later. On the last night of Xiao Qin's stay in Dragon Sealing City, it was even livelier than usual. The streets and alleys were filled with people in groups of 3 to 5, touring the countless historical sites in the city. After putting on a black cloak, Xiao Qin slowly walked through the crowd. Occasionally, he heard discussions about the True Dragon ranking list. His name was mentioned time and time again in an admiring tone. All sorts of praises rang out. Under the hood, the shadow of Xiao Qin's face was hidden. He withdrew his aura. No one knew that the person they were talking about had just passed by them. When Xiao Qin arrived at Ignorant About Tea, he stopped for 9 steps. The interior of the tea house was brightly lit. There was an endless stream of people going in and out. The hall on the first floor did not have many rules. The people who came here were not true tea drinkers. As they drank, they did not stop talking at all. Participants from 2 small nations obtained first and second place at the same time. TSK, this is probably the first time in the history of the 5-nation youth competition. It is indeed the first time. The Great Chu Nation is indeed a nation with an expert like the Thunder King. After 5,000 years, a king-grade true dragon has appeared in the Great Qin Nation again. Haha, the elders of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion will probably be grinning from ear to ear. The rise of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion is already predictable. That's right. Just based on Xiao Qin's name, who knows how many bladesmen will be attracted to join. The bladesmen of the other nations will probably fight to join as well, to see if they can catch up to Xiao Chen's luck. The most discussed topic in the hall was the same as the one on the street. It was still the true dragon ranking list. Furthermore, it was much more lively here. "Sir, are you here to drink some tea?" "Unfortunately, we are already full. How about you go over there and wait for a while?" The moment Xiao Chen appeared at the entrance, an enthusiastic waiter walked over with a smile on his face. After handing over the Haoyan sect's name card, Xiao Chen said calmly, "I already have an appointment. Lead the way." The waiter received the name card. When he saw the inscription and the contents of the name card, he immediately knew who Xiao Chen was. He revealed an extremely shocked expression. He could not recover his wits for a long time. Xiao Chen frowned and said, "The name card says that we will meet tonight. Could it be that the Haoyan sect's people have already left?" The waiter reacted and suppressed the excitement in his heart. He quickly said, "No, no. Please follow me." Under the waiter's lead, Xiao Chen arrived at a booth on the top floor. Then, he casually pushed the door open and entered. A fragrance wafted in the elegant booth. Yu Chenxi and an old man in his 70s sat at the table, quietly drinking tea. That old man wore simple linen clothes. His long hair draped over his shoulders, and his eyebrows were white. However, his eyes sparkled with a divine light. He did not look old at all. Xiao Chen used his spiritual sense to check the other party's cultivation. He could not help but feel slightly shocked. Unexpectedly, the other party was just an ordinary person who did not practice martial arts. Returning to one's natural state, this was a peak martial sage expert. Ordinary martial sages could not compare to him. "You are here. Have a seat." The old man had noticed Xiao Chen's arrival long ago. However, he took a leisurely sip of tea before turning his head to greet Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen removed his cloak and sat across from the old man. Yu Chenxi leaned over and whispered, "Xiao Chen, this is the sect master of our Haoyan sect. For the sake of meeting you, he ended his closed-door cultivation early." A strange look flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. A peak martial sage was willing to give up his closed-door cultivation to meet him. The Haoyan sect was very sincere. "Many thanks, senior, for taking the time out of your busy schedule." The other party was very strong and could easily crush Xiao Chen to death with one finger. He spent a lot of time comprehending the Great Tao. Given his limited lifespan, he had to cultivate bitterly at all times, hoping to reach the peak of cultivation. To them, time was extremely precious. They were definitely worthy of Xiao Chen's words. The hemp-robed old man's deep eyes flickered with an intelligent light. He smiled gently and said, "Little friend, don't overthink. Since you already rejected the invitations of the other sects, my Haoyan sect naturally has to give you the highest reception." Chapter 610. Furthermore, I will probably never be able to enter Emperor Wu's gate in this lifetime. So, I am not busy or not. Who knows, I might need your help in the future. If you do not mind my old bones, you can just call me Old Feng. We are of the same generation. Xiao Chen felt embarrassed in his heart. The other party was much older than him, and his cultivation was many times higher. How could he dare to be so unbridled? Senior Feng must be joking. No one knows what will happen in the future. How can I compare my future accomplishments with Senior? Old Feng saw that Xiao Chen's attitude was sincere, his tone neither servile nor overbearing. He did not have the arrogance of a king-grade true dragon genius or the fawning attitude of a senior expert. Xiao Chen controlled his attitude very well. That aura was definitely not something he faked. Normally, without a strong mental state, he would not be able to achieve such an effect. Old man Feng nodded in his heart. Only with such a state of mind could one go further. He had said those words on purpose. In his long life, old man Feng had not been able to go far. In his long life, he had seen many geniuses, even emperor-grade true dragon geniuses who were stronger than Xiao Chen. There were many proud people who set their sights high but were not capable. They died prematurely, no matter how good their talent was. Old Feng put down the teacup in his hand and smiled faintly. As long as the king-grade true dragon geniuses did not die prematurely, they would definitely reach peak martial sage. Actually, I am not exaggerating. The conversation with the old man was not as formal as Xiao Chen imagined. Old Feng did not put on any airs. He even answered several of Xiao Chen's questions about martial cultivation. Xiao Chen, do you know why the Bushan Palace wants to bring you people to the Kunlun realm? Old Feng started to bring up the main topic of the day. After thinking for a while, Xiao Chen answered, the Bushan Palace might have competitors in the Kunlun realm, so they need to replenish their youth generation genius cultivators to strengthen themselves. Old Feng smiled faintly and said, it is pretty good that you can think of this. However, aside from this, there is another reason. This Sky Dome realm cannot afford to raise geniuses like you. Xiao Chen looked at the old man and asked doubtfully, you can't remember? That's right, we can't afford it. Old Feng pointed at Yu Chenxi and said, take Chenxi as an example. Once her talent reaches the martial monarch realm, she still wants to maintain a fast cultivation speed. She probably consumes at least 10,000 superior grade spirit stones a year. In less than 50 years, she will use up all the superior grade spirit stones that the Haotian sect accumulated. Xiao Chen was quick-witted as he thought about it. If it were not the age of geniuses, it would be fine to nurture a genius cultivator like this. This was because if the other sects did not have a worthy opponent, Yu Chenxi would definitely be able to fight for more benefits for the Haotian sect after he grew stronger, and he would be able to plunder many other sects' spiritual veins and resources. However, in the golden age of martial artists, there were countless geniuses like her. If she didn't grow up to be an invincible existence, it would be impossible for the sect to recover the resources that they had spent on cultivating her. When Old Feng saw Xiao Chen's expression, he knew that Xiao Chen understood. He nodded and said, hence, she has to enter the Kunlun realm. Only the resources of the Kunlun realm can nurture geniuses like you. Furthermore, the resources of the Kunlun realm are not in the hands of the Bushan Palace. They are still in the hands of the strong sections. Xiao Chen said, in that case, what does the Bushan Palace do? Old Feng explained, the Kunlun realm is boundless. It is not just filled with cultivators. The Bushan Palace represents all the cultivators. It fights for all sorts of resources in the Kunlun realm and fights against the other strong factions. I cannot explain it to you in a few words. If you really want to compare it, it is like the Heavenly Extermination Union in the ancient desolate land. However, it is much larger. You will understand when you go to the Kunlun realm. Xiao Chen remained calm and collected. He knew that the other party was about to get to the main topic, so he waited quietly for him to continue. Indeed, Old Feng smiled and said, when the 20 of you go to the Bushan Palace, your bone age will be tested and your talent will be redetermined. After that, there will be countless sects waiting for you to choose. The stronger you are, the more choices you will have. However, with your talent, there is no need to worry. There will definitely be many large sects fighting to pull you in. These are the conditions that the Haotian sect can offer you. You can take a look first. There is no rush to reply to me. The other party handed over a stack of envelopes. Xiao Chen was not in a rush to open them. Instead, he carefully put them away. Old Feng smiled faintly and said, I will take my leave first. No matter what choice you make, the Haotian sect will never make things difficult for you. The little Haotian medallion that you once obtained will always be effective. Regardless of the strength of the Haotian sect, just Old Feng's bearing and the way he spoke were already very admirable to Xiao Chen. Xiao! Right after Old Feng spoke, a spatial whirlpool appeared behind him. With a schwa sound, it sucked him in. When the whirlpool vanished, it was like the old man had never been there. Xiao Chen, what do you think? Yu Chenxi, who was at the side, asked with some anticipation. Xiao Chen smiled and said, perhaps after we go to the Kunlun realm, you will have to address me as senior brother. Xiao Chen did not know anyone from the 9 great sections. At the very least, there was Yu Chenxi in the Haotian sect. Although the two had only known each other for a short time, they understood each other's characters. Furthermore, Ao Jiao also approved of Xiao Qin going to the Haotian sect. Choosing the Haotian sect might not be the best outcome for Xiao Qin, but it was definitely not the worst choice. At the same time, as Xiao Qin was chatting with the Haotian sect master, Kim Tae-ho was also meeting with a major character. That major character was none other than the welcoming envoy, Wan Feng. Wan Feng fiddled with a spirit core brimming with light and spiritual energy in his hand. An azure flaming bird could be vaguely seen in the spirit core, flapping its wings and crying out loud like it was alive. After Wan Feng put away the spirit core, he said, "Not bad. The spirit core of a rank 10 spirit beast, Azure 1. Even in the Kunlun realm, it is still somewhat valuable." Kim Tae-ho cursed in his heart. What do you mean by somewhat valuable? This thing would be a priceless treasure even in the Kunlun realm. Do you think this fat lord does not know anything? Furthermore, Wan Feng cultivated a fire-attributed cultivation technique. The value of this Azure One spirit core could no longer be measured in terms of value. However, Kim Tae-ho could not lose his temper since he had a favor to ask of the other party. He smiled and said, "In that case, can you leave the business in Dragon Sealing City to our Golden Rock Merchant Association to manage in the future?" Fatso did not lie to Xiao Qin. He was indeed here to discuss business. Furthermore, he was very ambitious. He wanted to swallow up all the business in Dragon Sealing City in one go. Although Dragon Sealing City had only been open for a month, the people who came this month were all peak cultivators of the continent. The income from spending 1 million peak cultivators was equivalent to a year's worth of business for the Golden Rock Merchant Association. It was definitely worth fighting for. Right now, all the business in Dragon Sealing City was in the hands of the top merchant association, the Wan clan. However, with just a word from Wan Feng, the owner could be changed to him, Kim Tae-ho. When Wan Feng heard this, his expression suddenly turned cold. He said in a frosty voice, "Scram. Don't mention this topic. Who do you think this young master is?" Kim Tae-ho was somewhat stunned. He could not understand why the other party suddenly turned hostile. It was clearly the other party who released the news first. That was why he brought the Azure One spirit core over. "Cousin, are you receiving a guest?" Just at this moment, laughter rang out. Kim Tae-ho turned his head and saw the Wan Clan Merchant Association's young master, Wan Shan, walking in with a smile. "Cousin?" Wan Feng, Wan Clan Merchant Association, both surnamed Wan. Kim Tae-ho suddenly understood something. He said angrily, "You two bastards. How dare you gang up on me? Return my Azure One spirit core to me. Did you not hear me? I already told you to scram." Wan Feng snorted coldly and sent out a strand of quintessence with a flick of his finger. A pitch-black crack appeared in space as it flew towards Kim Tae-ho. Kim Tae-ho was startled. He quickly took out the coffin lid and placed it in front of him. Ding dang! The huge force knocked Kim Tae-ho back by 10 steps. "Hey!" Seeing that the coffin lid was undamaged, Wan Feng's eyes lit up. He said, "There is actually an emperor's might spreading out." This time, Kim Tae-ho learned his lesson. He quickly put away the coffin lid and ran away as fast as he could. Then, he said, "You two brats, this fat lord will remember you this time. There is no one else in this world who can take advantage of me, Kim Tae-ho." Wan Shan laughed loudly and said, "How delightful. I finally managed to mess with this fatso. He has snatched away a lot of our Wan clan's business in the Great Jin Nation." However, Wan Feng, who was seated, had an incredibly calm expression. He said indifferently, "He is just a minor character. There is no need to bother with him. However, this Azure One spirit core is really good stuff." After chatting with Yu Chensi about some irrelevant matters, Xiao Qin prepared to take his leave. Yu Chensi stood up to send Xiao Qin off. She smiled and said, "We will meet again in half a year. If you are willing, you can come with me to the Haotian sect now." With the spirit vein that the Haotian sect controls, it will be easier for you to break through to martial monarch. Xiao Chen understood what she meant. The Kunlun realm's Haotian sect definitely had its own geniuses. They would also absorb geniuses from other realms. At that time, there would be competition. Once they reached martial monarch, they would be able to avoid some unnecessary trouble. They would also receive more resources. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion only controlled one spirit vein. Naturally, it could not compare to the Haotian sect. However, to Xiao Chen, there was no difference between the two. The Purple Thunder divine incantation that Xiao Chen cultivated required a vast amount of essence, at least 10 times that of a regular genius cultivator. Be it the Haotian sect or the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, Xiao Chen would not be able to advance to martial monarch within half a year. The former would be faster than the latter, but it would still take at least a year. If Xiao Chen wanted to advance to martial monarch within half a year, he could only think of other methods. Xiao Chen thanked him politely and rejected the other party's invitation. After 15 minutes, Xiao Chen returned to the courtyard of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion and opened the letter that Old Phone gave him. The contents of the letter gave a rough introduction of the Haotian sect situation in the Kunlun realm. Xiao Chen explained it to Ao Jiao and left it for her to decide. Ao Jiao muttered, "Your choice was not wrong. I did not expect that after 5,000 years, the Haotian sect master would advance to the greater heavenly Emperor Wu. In that case, the Haotian sect's position in the 9 ranks of the great families will definitely rise." That was good. At least when Xiao Chen went to the Haotian sect, he would not have to worry about the resources the sect controlled. There was a black spatial ring in the letter. Xiao Chen scanned it with his spiritual sense and saw all the treasures in the spatial ring. There were more than 50,000 superior-grade spirit stones. This was very shocking. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion was unable to do this. Chapter 611. Back then, when Xiao Chen agreed to fight for the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, Jiang Qi had taken out nearly half of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion savings and only managed to gather 10,000 superior-grade spirit stones. However, the Haotian sect casually gave out 50,000 superior-grade spirit stones. Aside from that, there were all sorts of natural treasures and 1,000-year-old spirit herbs for nourishing qi. There were at least 100 of them, each of them more than 2,000 years old. There was also a faint blue inner vest at the back. Based on the flickering light and spiritual energy, it should be a defensive superior-grade secret treasure. It would probably increase Xiao Chen's defense by at least 20%. Ha ha! Brother Xiao Chen, these are just a small greeting gift. 50,000 superior-grade spirit stones should be enough for you to use for half a year. If you go to the upper realm, there will be even more generous gifts waiting for you. This was the last line of Old Feng's introduction letter, showing the strong accumulations of the Haotian sect. Early the next morning, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's group made their preparations and prepared to return. Everyone was in a good mood. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion could be said to have a bountiful harvest in this 5-nation youth competition. They achieved an unimaginable goal. Not only did Murong Chong and Yun Kursen enter the True Dragon ranking, but Xiao Chen also obtained the first rank for the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Furthermore, Xiao Chen obtained the first rank for the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. With the King Grade True Dragon luck, there was no doubt that the Heavenly Saber Pavilion would rise in the future. After the group left the city, they boarded Jade Maiden Peak's golden jade glazed ship and soared into the air, heading back to the Great Qin Nation. When the group looked around, the sky was filled with warships and crowds. As these people left, the grand occasion of this True Dragon ranking would spread to every corner of the continent. The names of the geniuses on the 5-nation youth competition would spread far and wide. Many years later, when people recalled this 5-nation youth competition, it would be a legend. On the bow of the warship, Xiao Chen explained his promise to the Haotian sect to the first elder, Jiang Qi, in detail. Jiang Qi was not surprised. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion did not have a faction in the Kunlun realm. They would not be able to trap a true dragon like Xiao Chen. Being able to help the Heavenly Saber Pavilion obtain the first rank was already a pleasant surprise for Jiang Qi. How could he ask for more? A gentle breeze blew as the golden jade-glazed ship moved through the clouds. Although it looked slow, it was actually moving at an incredible speed. 5 days later, in the sky above a mountain range at the border of the Jin state and the Qin state, a group of rank 8 spirit beasts, demonic flame eagles, 3,000 meters in front of them blocked their way. A rank 8 spirit beast was as strong as a great perfection half-step martial monarch. Furthermore, it was much faster than a regular cultivator. When fighting a rank 8 spirit beast in the air, a cultivator of the same rank would find it hard to defeat it. Jiang Qi frowned slightly and counted carefully. There were a total of 8 demonic raging flame eagles. The one in the middle was the largest, and its aura was much denser. This is problematic. There is actually a demonic raging flame eagle leader here. Even a peak consummation half-step martial monarch would not be a match for it. Jiang Qi said to Lu Suifeng, who was behind him, "Suifeng, go and ask Martial Uncle Shen to come out. If we take a detour, it will take us another half a day." Xiao Chen walked over and looked at the demonic raging flame eagles in front. He said, "Wait, let me give it a try first." Right after Xiao Chen spoke, the others looked over in shock. There were 8 spirit beasts in front that were even stronger than a great perfection half-step martial monarch. Among them, the leader of the demonic raging flame eagles was a peak consummation half-step martial monarch. A regular inferior grade martial monarch would find it hard to subdue it. Jiang Qi said worriedly, "Xiao Chen, it is better to let Martial Uncle Shen make a move. Don't be too rash." Xiao Chen wanted to test his strength after the true dragon merged with him. He smiled and said, "First Elder, don't worry. I know what I am doing. If I cannot defeat them, I will immediately retreat. I will not be rash." Seeing Xiao Chen so insistent, Jiang Qi could not say anything more. He said, "In that case, be careful. Second Elder, bring some people and follow behind. If anything happens, you can rush over immediately." Xiao. Xiao Chen gently pushed off the bow of the warship, and his figure drifted, kicking up a strong wind in the air. In the blink of an eye, Xiao Chen arrived within 500 meters of the demonic raging flame eagles. Black flames burned on the broad wings of the demonic raging flame eagles. Their hook-like beaks flickered with a cold light. When their cold eyes discovered Xiao Chen, they immediately flapped their wings and let out a shrill cry, sending out a surging heat wave. Xiao Chen placed his right hand on the saber hilt and quickly scanned the 8 demonic raging flame eagles. After he clearly saw their flight trajectory, he attacked with lightning speed. Thunder Shadow Chop. Because Xiao Chen was worried that he would cause too much damage, he did not use his full essence to execute this move. At this moment, there were no more worries in the air. The surging crystalline essence surged towards the lunar shadow saber like a river. In that instant, it gave off a dazzling purple electric light. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Xiao Chen took 7 steps, leaving behind 7 realistic afterimages in the air. Each afterimage sent out a saber strike. With the true dragon, Xiao Chen's cultivation instantly rose from small perfection half-step martial monarch to great perfection. When he unleashed his essence at full power, its might was startling. Boom! 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 7 miserable cries resounded. The saber lights that Xiao Chen sent out from the afterimages split the 7 demonic raging flame eagles in half. The elders behind, who were preparing to make a move, were all dumbfounded. Merge! The 7 afterimages merged, and electric light burst out from Xiao Chen's body. His aura surged, making him look like a thunder god descending from the sky. Saber chi surged out and tore a long crack in space. The leader of the demonic raging flame eagles was startled. It flapped its wings anxiously and tried to flee. It did not dare to face the might of this saber strike head-on. Pu Ci. However, the crack extended too quickly. Even though the demonic raging flame eagle did its best to dodge, the crack still tore its right wing in half. The strong defense of the demonic raging flame eagle became mere decoration. It cried out miserably and fell to the ground. Xiao Chen killed 8 demonic raging flame eagles in the blink of an eye with 1 thunder shadow chop. This stunned Jiang Qi and the others on the warship. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber. However, he was not satisfied. This was because his final attack had not instantly chopped the leader of the demonic raging flame eagles in half. This proved that this thunder shadow chop still had many improvements. When the group landed back on the deck, Jiang Qi and the others exchanged glances. They discovered that they could not see through Xiao Chen at all. With such strength, even a regular inferior-grade martial monarch would not be able to match him. Suddenly, Xiao Chen said, "There is a warship behind us. It is heading in our direction at Mach 5. Jiang Qi and the others were slightly stunned. They soared into the air and quickly looked back. Indeed, a huge black warship tore through the air and headed in their direction. Its target was very clear. It wanted to stop Xiao Chen and the others before they could leave the Great Jin Nation. After the group landed, Jiang Qi said with an unsightly expression, "They are coming with ill intentions. It is the Bai clan's warship." Xiao. Just as the group was about to cross the border, the huge black warship of the Bai clan overtook them. The warship swept through the air and tyrannically blocked the path of Xiao Chen and the others. Shen Manjun walked out of the warship's hold and looked at the Bai clan's warship. She asked doubtfully, "Jiang Qi, what's going on?" "I'm not sure. The Bai clan's people did not say anything and just stopped us." When Jiang Qi saw Shen Manjun walk out, he calmed down. After all, the other party was a half-sage. As long as the Bai clan's clan head did not come, it would not be easy for the others to stop them. "Everyone, there is no need to be anxious. I am Bai Feng, the current Bai clan's clan head. I just want to meet the white-robed bladesman you all speak of." A middle-aged man wearing light blue robes appeared on the warship's bow. He was like a treasured saber drawn from its scabbard, radiating a sharp light. The moment he appeared, everyone in the heavenly saber pavilion felt a huge pressure. When the other party looked down, it was like a sharp saber hanging above everyone's heads. Saber Sage. A sage of the saber. Only a martial sage who had comprehended saber intent to the limit could be called a saber sage. Regular martial sages would not be a match for them. A saber sage could easily deal with 10 martial sages of the same cultivation. This Bai clan's clan head, Bai Feng, was such a person. Bai Feng smiled faintly and said, "I remember handing over my name card. However, it seems like little brother does not think highly of me, so I can only use such a presumptuous method." As Xiao Chen looked at the other party, a yearning appeared in his heart. A sage of the saber. Xiao Chen wondered when he would be able to reach such a level. After calming himself, Xiao Chen took a step forward and asked, "I wonder why Senior is looking for me?" Bai Feng smiled and said, "Come up and speak. It is not convenient to be down there." "Senior brother Xiao Chen, don't go up. They are definitely up to no good," Yun Kursen said from behind. Yun Kursen said from behind. Lu Suifeng and the others did not say anything, but the meaning in their eyes was the same. Xiao Chen said softly, "It's fine. Given his status, he will not go so far as to make a move against a junior like me. Everyone will laugh at him." Xiao. After Xiao Chen spoke, he pushed off the ground and boarded the Bai clan's black warship. He stood across from Bai Feng and looked straight at him without any fear. Bai Feng smiled gently and said, "Young man, you are rather courageous. I'll get straight to the point. Where did you learn the 4-season saber technique? This concerns the foundation of my Bai clan. I have to figure it out." Xiao Chen had expected the other party to say this long ago. He replied, "I once met Senior Bai Shuehe in the ancient desolate tower. He was the one who taught me the 4-season saber technique. However, don't worry. I already swore on my heart demon that the 4-season saber technique will not leak out." Bai Feng revealed an expression of "as I expected." He said, "It is as I expected. I have a presumptuous request. Little brother, can you write down your comprehension of the 4-season saber technique that you comprehended and give me a copy?" Xiao Chen said straightforwardly, "Sure." Bai Feng was slightly stunned. He had not expected Xiao Chen to agree to his request so easily, not bargaining at all. After all, the secret manual that Xiao Chen wanted to write down was priceless. The four-season saber technique had been studied by the Bai clan for thousands of years. With this, the number of Bai clan juniors who could learn the four-season saber technique would increase significantly. Given this, Bai Feng felt somewhat embarrassed. He asked, "Little brother, do you have any requests?" "There is no need. The four-season saber technique belongs to your Bai clan in the first place. Since you have requested it, I will return it." Xiao Chen maintained a calm expression and did not say much. The white paper floated in front of him as he focused on writing down the four-season saber technique he comprehended. Chapter 6:12. Xiao Chen was not afraid that the Bai clan would learn his four-season saber technique and threaten him. The four-season saber technique could only bring out its strongest might when it was compatible with the cultivator's state. Xiao Chen was able to bring out the might of the four-season saber technique. If others followed his method, they would be able to bring out a tenth of his might. The Bai clan had taken the wrong path. Since that was the case, there was no harm in giving it to him. Before a saber sage, he did not have much of a choice. Thousands of meters above the Bai clan's warship, a small warship was hidden in the clouds. A few elders of the Sima clan stood on the bow of the warship, looking suspiciously at Xiao Chen and Bai Qi's actions. First elder, the Bai clan and Xiao Chen seemed to have reached some sort of agreement. "I'm afraid we no longer have a chance to make a move," a gray-robed old man said sullenly. "If they enter the Great Qin nation's borders and we make a move, we will attract some unnecessary trouble," another person said. The Sima clan's first elder muttered to himself for a while before saying, "In that case, let's return first. I did not expect this Bai Feng to spoil our plans at such a crucial moment. However, there is still half a year, there will be plenty of opportunities." Without anyone noticing, the Sima clan's small warship quietly turned around and returned to where it came from. 15 minutes later, Bai Qi put away the secret manual that Xiao Chen handed him. He felt many emotions in his heart. It was hard to imagine that there could be such a talented person. Before the age of 22, Bai Qi had already created such a powerful martial technique. Compared to the ancient sages, he was not inferior. Little brother's talent and bearing are truly admirable. If you need this Bai's help in the future, just a word from me will do. The Bai clan owes you a favor. Bai Feng used his status as the Bai clan's clan head to make a promise to Xiao Chen. This surprised Xiao Chen somewhat. Without the Bai clan obstructing them, their journey was smooth sailing. 3 days later, Xiao Chen's group returned to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. When the news of Xiao Chen obtaining the first rank spread, the entire Heavenly Saber Pavilion erupted with excitement. The 5,000-odd inner disciples were all extremely excited. Many disciples would be attracted to the foot of Qingyun Peak every day. Without exception, all of them hoped to join Qingyun Peak. The only reason was that Xiao Chen had the luck of a king-grade true dragon. Of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion's Qingyun Peak, Xiao Chen would definitely obtain the most luck. Luck was ethereal, but comprehension ability. However, its usefulness to cultivators was sometimes even more important than talent. Everyone wanted to benefit from it and obtain more luck. Xiao Chen handed all these trifling matters to Lu Suifeng to handle. As for himself, he and Lu Riyue stayed in the back mountains, living a simple world of the two of them, enjoying the rare leisure time. 1 week later, as more and more cultivators returned from Dragon Sealing City, the true dragon ranking became popular in every corner of the Great Qin Nation. The news of the Great Qin Nation's bladesman, Xiao Chen, becoming the champion of this 5-nation youth competition spread like wildfire. The reputation of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion soared. There was an endless stream of people coming to learn from them. There were even people who did not practice the saber in the first place who started practicing the saber all over again. They only wanted to join the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. The first elder, Jiang Qi, was extremely busy every day. However, the smile on his face never faded. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion's accumulations were not bad. However, they lacked an opportunity. Now that they were using Xiao Chen's reputation to recruit disciples, their foundation would be even firmer. The luck that Xiao Chen brought would affect the Heavenly Saber Pavilion invisibly. For the next 500 years, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion would continue to prosper, gaining a place in the Great Age. The bustling outside did not affect Xiao Chen's mental state. After spending half a month with Lu Rüe, he resumed his bitter cultivation. The road was still very long. This was only the beginning of the great path of cultivation. He had to work even harder, he could not relax at all. This was especially so after Xiao Chen met Bai Feng. This feeling in his heart became even stronger. Only when he became truly strong could he firmly grasp his fate in his own hands. If Xiao Chen had a choice, why would he hand over the saber technique he comprehended? However, before absolute strength, even if he was extremely intelligent, it would be useless. Pu Ci. The 4 superior grade spirit stones in his hand shattered. Xiao Chen recovered from his cultivation and looked at the exhausted spirit stones. He shook his head slightly and casually tossed them aside. After spending half a month, Xiao Chen thoroughly summarized the insights he gained from the 5-nation youth competition. Then, he spent all his time on cultivation. Even though Xiao Chen consumed 10 superior grade spirit stones every day, his progress was still very slow. He was still a long way from reaching the bottleneck of half-step martial monarch. Xiao Chen felt somewhat vexed. He asked Ao Jiao, is there any way for me to reach the bottleneck of half-step martial monarch within half a year? Ao Jiao smiled gently and said, I've been waiting for you to ask. There is definitely a way. It just depends on whether you dare to take this risk or not. Everything in the world had its risks. It was impossible to reap without sowing and easily achieve success. Naturally, Xiao Chen understood this principle. He asked, what is the method? Ao Jiao did not answer him directly. Instead, she said, you know about the spirit vein's origin under the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, right? Back then, even the Heavenly Wolf race's fiend king wanted that. The spirit vein's origin was the foundation of a spirit vein. It contained an immeasurable amount of spiritual energy. Naturally, Xiao Chen knew about the spirit vein's origin in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Back then, he had personally experienced it in the underground world of the Spirit Stone Mine. However, the energy contained in the spirit vein's origin was simply too vast. It was not something that Xiao Chen could do anything to. If he tried to swallow it forcefully, he might explode from the energy if he was not careful. Leng Liusu could cultivate on it because the founder of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion had placed restrictions on it, limiting the amount of energy she could absorb from it. Otherwise, with Leng Liusu's cultivation back then, she would not have been able to cultivate on it. Thinking of this, Xiao Chen shook his head slightly and said, could this be the method you are talking about? The Heavenly Saber Pavilion's spirit vein's origin has restrictions placed on it, limiting the amount of energy it can absorb. Furthermore, only the descendants of the founder can use that spirit vein. Ao Jiao smiled gently and said, naturally not. I am just giving an example. There is more than one spirit vein in this world. Xiao Chen reacted and said, are you saying that there are other spirit veins that have not been discovered by anyone? That is impossible. The existing spirit veins have already been divided up by the various sections. There was no way to hide a spirit vein. The spiritual energy that it gave off could be felt from 5 kilometers away. Its value was immeasurable. There would always be spirit stone mines around spirit veins. Spirit stones were the currency of cultivators. One could easily imagine the wealth that came from controlling a spirit vein. Sometimes, the number of spirit veins described a sect. It was a sign of how strong it was. It was the foundation of a sect. Without a spirit vein, the sect would automatically disband. The 3 great sects of the Great Qin nation were able to exist for 10,000 years because they each controlled a spirit vein. The various powers had already divided up the spirit veins many years ago. Any sect that possessed a spirit vein was not something that Xiao Chen could afford to offend. Ao Jiao scolded jokingly, idiot, since I said there is definitely. There is no need for you to doubt it. However, with your current cultivation, there is a 70% chance that you will fail to absorb the spirit vein's origin. Once you fail, your body will explode and you will die. A 70% chance of failure, the risk was too high. Xiao Chen thought for a while and made a decision after a while. He said, I can take a gamble if I have a 50% chance. 70% is too high, it is not worth it. Xiao Chen had already opened his sea of consciousness long ago. Once his cultivation reached that level, he would advance to martial monarch. There was no need to risk his life for the sake of advancing to martial monarch within half a year. Ao Jiao smiled gently and said, I have not finished speaking yet. If you can cultivate the firmament body tempering art to the 6th layer, your success rate will increase to 50%. I'll take the gamble, Xiao Chen said without hesitation, revealing a decisive look in his eyes. In Dragon Sealing City, the instant the true dragon appeared, Xiao Chen's firmament body tempering art reached peak consummation of the 5th layer. If he focused, he would be able to break through to the 6th layer in less than half a month. After Xiao Chen made up his mind, it was time to take action. After saying goodbye to Lu Riyue, Xiao Chen prepared to embark on a new journey. The spirit vein that Ao Jiao spoke of was in the ancient desolate land's Heavenly Extermination Lake's mountain range at the bottom of the Heavenly Extermination Lake. The environment there was very dangerous, and demonic beasts roamed about. Entering it would be very difficult. The spirit vein was discovered by the Thunder King in the past. Because no one cared for it, its spiritual energy had been leaking out for thousands of years. It was hard to say how much energy the spirit vein's origin still had. It had already been 5,000 years. It was possible that the spirit vein had already been abandoned. For the sake of not wasting time, Xiao Chen only made 3 days of preparations. The entire Heavenly Saber Pavilion was still in an excited and bustling state. Xiao Chen left silently. Aside from Lu Riyue, no one knew where he went. 10,000 meters above the great Qin nation, there was an insignificant scarlet cloud compared to the vast sky. It turned into a scarlet line as it moved forward quickly. Underground, even a cultivator with good eyesight would not be able to discover the existence of that scarlet cloud. When the strong spirit beasts in the sky felt the surging killing qi from the scarlet cloud, they could not avoid it in time, not daring to clash with it. There was a scarlet throne above the scarlet cloud. Xiao Chen sat on it, cultivating the firmament body tempering art with his eyes closed. Xiao Chen's long hair fluttered in the wind. The tyrannical air of a king appeared indistinctly. Due to the scarlet throne, even though Xiao Chen withdrew his aura, that might still spread out, unable to leak out. In reality, from the moment the true dragon appeared, Xiao Chen discovered that his mentality had changed at some point in time. In the past, peak martial monarchs, like the half-sage Shen Manjun, could give him a lot of pressure. However, Xiao Chen could remain indifferent to them. He even felt that they were nothing much. The king-grade true dragon silently broadened Xiao Chen's horizons, allowing him to slowly recognize his identity as a future king. The silence did not allow Xiao Chen to reject it. Whether he was willing or not, his future path would be filled with thorns, blood, and wind. It would not be peaceful. A king would not settle for second place. If Xiao Chen advanced to martial monarch, he had to be the strongest among martial monarchs. If he advanced to martial sage, he had to be the strongest martial sage. If he advanced to Emperor Wu, he had to be the king of emperors. Chapter 613. The people who originally occupied the first rank would definitely be dissatisfied. There would also be the king-grade true dragons of the other great thousand realms. Ji! A sharp bird cry resounded. A black demonic beast with a leopard's head and eagle's body appeared in front of the throne. A berserk aura spread out as it sized up Xiao Chen with malicious intent. It was a demonic beast, not a spirit beast. It was not frightened by the killing intent coming from the throne. Instead, it was eager to try, wondering if eating Xiao Chen would increase its strength. Xiao Chen opened his eyes and punched calmly. An azure dragon head formed on his fist as he executed the berserk dragon stance of the dragon claw fist. Bang! The fist exploded and the berserk dragon roared. The leopard-headed eagle did not even have a chance to dodge before the punch blasted it into a bloody mist. You overestimate yourself. You are just a mere peak rank 7 demonic beast and you dare to block my path. Shao Chen closed his eyes again. The Scarlet Throne did not stop at all. It broke through the bloody mist and continued flying forward. Half a month later, Shao Chen successfully broke through the bottleneck of the firmament body tempering art's 5th layer, reaching the 6th layer. Now, he could deliver 500 tons of force with a casual punch. With just the strength of his physical body, Shao Chen was able to secure a spot among half-step martial monarchs. Shao Chen could already see the vast and boundless heavenly extermination lake below. The islands on the lake looked like they were dotted with stars. The number of people in the sky slowly increased. Not wanting to attract too much attention, Shao Chen put away the throne long ago. Then, he used his essence to fly in the air. From time to time, the martial kings that passed by him would feel a huge pressure and subconsciously move away. What a strong aura! When did such a strong youth come to the ancient desolate land? Everyone's gazes filled with doubt. They could not understand what was going on. Right now, Shao Chen's aura was so strong that even some of the older generation experts sighed. He was truly an unrivaled existence among half-step martial monarchs. 1,000 meters northeast of the island in front, then dive straight down, and you will reach the place I said. Ao Jiao's voice sounded in his mind. Shao Chen glanced around and sped up. He turned into a purple line and landed on the surface of the water in a few breaths, splashing into the water with a splash. Gulp, gulp. Circulating his vital qi, Shao Chen continuously increased the gravity around him. His entire body was like a lead ball that had fallen into the water. He dove down at an extremely fast speed, and bubbles kept appearing around him. At first, he could still see some light, but after a kilometer, the bottom of the lake became dark. Even with Shao Chen's eyesight, he couldn't see beyond 100 meters. Due to the refraction of the water, what Shao Chen saw with his spiritual sense was hazy. He could only make out a rough idea. Ah! At this moment, Shao Chen frowned slightly and let out a soft cry of surprise. There was a large patch of blood floating in the lake in front of him, giving off a pungent smell. As he continued to dive deeper, there was more and more blood. However, he did not see any of the beasts that Ao Jiao mentioned. It seemed like this place had been swept by someone in advance. Bang! Shao Chen's body trembled slightly. He finally reached the bottom of this heavenly extermination lake, and his feet touched solid ground. When he scanned the area with his spiritual sense, he could roughly tell that there was a majestic mountain range at the bottom of the lake about 500 meters in front of him. It was 1,000 meters tall and looked very vast. The mountain range at the bottom of the lake was actually several times wider than the Lingyun mountain range where the Heavenly Saber Pavilion was. The blood was also the densest in this place. When Shao Chen looked around, all he could see was dark red blood. It was viscous and did not melt for a long time. It gave off an extremely disgusting stench. Occasionally, he could see the remains of some wandering demonic beasts. It was easy to tell that these were the worthless parts of the demonic beasts. Seeing this, Shao Chen was certain that someone had swept through this place before Shao Chen. Ao Jiao, does anyone else know about this place? Shao Chen asked somewhat worriedly. If someone had gotten here before him, then he would have wasted a lot of time. Ao Jiao shook her head slightly and said, "There is no need to worry. Those people should have some other purpose. This place is the birthplace of the extreme Yin underworld flame. 5,000 years ago, the Thunder King discovered the spirit vein by chance when he was retrieving the flame seed. He laid down some restrictions, making it very difficult for others to discover the spirit vein." Firmament flame. Shao Chen entered deep thought. His lunar true flame had already formed an origin flame. However, it had not absorbed any Yin-attributed flames. Compared to the purple thunder true fire, its might was much weaker. If he had an opportunity to strengthen the lunar true flame, He might be able to execute the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram that he used in the Trial of Desire. However, the purpose of this trip was still the spirit vein's origin. There was no need to think too much about the lunar true flame. He would act according to the situation. Xiao Chen stretched out his right hand and a surging essence formed a suction force on his palm. The black blood mixed with the lake water quickly gathered in his hand. Hu Qi! Hu Qi! A scarlet whirlpool formed on Xiao Chen's palm. The surrounding lake water slowly turned clear. After a while, all the blood condensed into a ball of blood that had been compressed countless times. Xiao Chen casually waved his hand, and the ball of blood flew up at an extremely fast speed. After a long time, it formed a pillar of water on the surface of the heavenly extermination lake. The ball of blood exploded and turned into a rain of blood. As it fell, the cultivators passing by were astonished. While in the clear lake water, Xiao Chen used his vision and discovered a crack in the mountain range in front. That was the entrance that Ao Jiao mentioned. Xiao Chen pushed off the bottom of the lake and moved like lightning. He entered that crack with a xiao sound. At first, the crack was very narrow. After walking for 10 minutes, it widened. Clear footprints could be seen on the ground. Based on the shape and number of footprints, there were quite a lot of people, at least 100 of them. Xiao Chen did not know which faction of the ancient desolate land did this. 10 minutes later, the lake water in the crack had completely receded. The area in front suddenly opened up, and a vast world appeared in Xiao Chen's vision. Stone pillars of all shapes and sizes hung upside down a kilometer above him. Cracks extended for 500 kilometers on the ground. Occasionally, strands of inattributed flames wafted out of the cracks. Xiao Chen revealed a shocked expression. It was hard to imagine that there was such a miraculous scene in the mountain range at the bottom of the lake. Halt! The Holy Fire Manor is conducting business here. Would you please leave for now? Suddenly, two middle-aged cultivators leaped out from above. They wore the same clothes and held sharp sabers in their hands. They looked at Xiao Chen cautiously. Because spiritual sense was not very useful in the heavenly extermination lake, Xiao Chen had not released it at all times. He only discovered these two people after they jumped out. When Xiao Chen looked around, he immediately made out the cultivation of these two people. They were peak superior grade martial kings. Their auras were not weak, and their cultivation techniques would not be weak either. They would be considered experts in the ancient desolate land. However, in Xiao Chen's eyes, they were far from sufficient. The Holy Fire Manor. Xiao Chen had a good impression of this sect. Back then, he and Bai Lishi had uprooted their branch in Desolate City. The two of them had also killed their young manor lord and an inner sect elder. Xiao Chen had not expected to meet them here today. In order to obtain the Netherworld Flame, we need a martial monarch expert to hold the line. Xiao Chen needs to deal with these two people quickly. We cannot drag this out. Ao Jiao reminded him. Don't be unable to tell good from bad. Our first manor lord and second manor lord are here. With your half-step martial monarch cultivation, they can destroy you with one finger. Be smart and scram. When the person on the right saw that Xiao Chen did not move, he pointed at Xiao Chen and shouted. The Holy Fire Manor had two martial monarch experts. Xiao Chen had heard about them long ago. It looked like they were both here. Regardless of the cultivation of these two martial monarchs, if they worked together, Xiao Chen would not be a match for them. However, since he was already here, there was no reason for him to retreat. Xiao Chen squinted and suddenly made a move. He stomped heavily on the ground, leaving a 3-inch deep footprint. He executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art. A resonant dragon roar came from behind him. The person who spoke felt like a blue dragon was flying at him. Breaking armor. When Xiao Chen punched, a sharp shockwave formed above his fist. It tore through this person's defense like it was made of paper and left a bloody hole the size of a bowl on his chest. Seizing the heart. Xiao Chen's right hand turned into a claw, and in the time it took for a spark to fly, he pierced through the second person's chest. However, before this person died, he shot out a short arrow he had hidden in his sleeve. The arrow was coated with a special kind of fuel, and it quickly burned in the air. Xiao Chen flicked his right finger and fired out a strand of purple flame. When the arrow was halfway up, he intercepted it. Chi! However, when the arrow exploded, it gave off a sharp, ear-piercing sound. The sound waves could be heard clearly within 5 kilometers. Let's go. Xiao Chen had not expected the arrow to be so effective. His expression changed, and he quickly fled in another direction. A kilometer away, the 100-man team of the Holy Fire Manor was currently fighting a large group of flame giants. These flame giants were fire spirits formed from flames lingering in the air for a long time. They did not have a physical body and did not feel pain. Furthermore, there were many of them, making them very difficult to deal with. 2 old men hovered quietly above the group. Extremely powerful auras radiated from their bodies. Every now and then, they would strike down a fire spirit that was blocking their way. When the 2 old men heard the ear-piercing sound, their expressions changed at the same time. The gray-robed old man on the right said, "Big brother, unexpectedly, aside from us, there is someone else who knows the location of the netherworld flame." The blue-robed old man on the left said sullenly, "I am very fast. I will go take a look first. I'll leave this place to you." Shio! 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 Right after the blue-robed old man spoke, he quickly flew over. He was simply too fast. It was to the extent that the space around him was unable to endure it, and numerous mottled fissures appeared on it. Xiao Chen was unlucky. The Holy Fire Manor's team happened to be blocked by the fire spirits, so they did not manage to get far. To the blue-robed old man, he crossed the distance of 1 kilometer in a few breaths of time. After he arrived, he squinted and immediately saw Xiao Chen flying. The blue-robed old man's expression relaxed, and a murderous intent appeared in his eyes. He smiled coldly and said, "You are just a half-step martial monarch and you dare to come here to join in the fun? You are too bold." Chi! Chi! The blue-robed old man raised his speed to the limit, and a pitch-black crack appeared behind him. Then, he chased after Xiao Chen. After executing the blue dragon cloud soaring art, Xiao Chen became like a flood dragon leaping about. He had already activated the blood flame shoes long ago, but he still could not shake off the blue-robed old man's pursuit. Chapter 6:14. The distance between them slowly decreased. After 15 minutes, the old man was less than 500 meters away from Xiao Chen. Die! The blue-robed old man's gaze turned cold as he used his palm as a saber. Vast quintessence gathered in his palm. His figure flashed, and he arrived above Xiao Chen's head. Then, he hacked down with his palm. The palm wind howled, and tiny cracks appeared in space. If this palm strike landed, Xiao Chen would definitely suffer. The difference in speed was too great. One used quintessence while the other used essence. There was no way to compete. Since that was the case, there was no point in running. Thunder Shadow Chop. Xiao Chen drew the lunar shadow saber at lightning speed. He turned around and retreated 7 steps, leaving behind 7 afterimages on the ground. Each afterimage had a saber, sending out 7 dazzling saber lights. Merge! The afterimages merged, and the saber lit up with a dazzling light. The peak saber technique that was infused with 7-fold might clashed with the blue-robed old man's horrifying palm saber. Bang! The 2 moves collided head-on without any fancy moves. Powerful energy ripples burst out and spread out in waves. The void was refracted layer by layer. Xiao Chen retreated 3 steps, but the blue-robed old man retreated 10 steps. After the blue-robed old man stabilized himself, his expression changed greatly. He had been too careless with this palm strike. He had used only a quarter of his quintessence. Even so, he should have been able to injure a half-step martial monarch easily. Even if he could not injure the other party severely, he should not have lost to him in a clash of strength and even suffered a small loss. The blue-robed old man looked up and saw Xiao Chen's face. He was slightly stunned, and rage appeared in his eyes. He clenched his teeth and shouted, "It's you! White-robed bladesman, Xiao Chen!" Sparks of electricity leaped around the saber. Xiao Chen held his saber with one hand. He remained expressionless, not showing much fear. The other party had not reached peak inferior grade martial monarch. As long as two martial monarchs did not make a move, even if Xiao Chen could not defeat the other party, he would be able to leave easily. Xiao Chen said calmly, "I am not here for your netherworld flame. If you do not stop me, I will not interfere. How about we not interfere?" Ha ha ha. The blue-robed old man laughed loudly. "Not interfere? What qualifications do you have to say that? You were the one who destroyed the Holy Fire Manor's branch in Desolate City, right? Without evidence, old sir, please do not speak nonsense," Xiao Chen said unhurriedly. His calm eyes showed no fluctuations. The blue-robed old man's pupils constricted, and a murderous intent spread in his eyes. He snorted coldly. "This place is desolate and uninhabited. No one will know if I kill you." The Holy Fire Manor's Desolate City branch had been destroyed, and his son had been killed. The blue-robed old man had investigated for a long time, and Xiao Chen was the most suspicious. As long as there was this suspicion, Xiao Chen deserved to die. "It looks like you really think that you are unrivaled after becoming the champion of the Five-Nation Youth Competition. Today, I will show you the difference between you and a martial monarch." The blue-robed old man snored, his cold frost. Vast quintessence gathered on Xiao Chen's right palm. He casually threw a palm strike and space trembled violently. It was like a mountain covered his head. Hu Qi. The essence in Xiao Chen's body instantly solidified. Thousands of purple lights shot out from all over his body. His pitch-black eyes turned deep purple as well, giving off a bright light in this dark underground. Clouds move everywhere, wind and lightning gather. Strong winds blew from all directions, and the clouds churned in the sky. Xiao Chen instantly executed the starting moves of the lightning tribulation saber technique. Dang! The saber and palm clashed, and a surging shock wave exploded out. The charred ground instantly exploded. Countless black rocks flew up into the air, driven by the shock wave. Bang! 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 Amid the thousands of floating rocks, the two exchanged moves at lightning speed. Thunder roared, and the killing intent surged. The palm wind infused with strong quintessence caused space to tremble. Countless cracks appeared. The shockwaves from the fight between the two caused the huge rocks floating in the surroundings to scatter like snowflakes. Along with the strong wind, the rocks scattered into the air, filling the air with dust. Earthly lightning tribulation. Wind and lightning gathered, and his aura reached its peak. Xiao Chen completely unleashed the state of massacre from the throne. The berserk saber technique in his hand instantly gained an additional state of massacre. The might of the lightning tribulation immediately soared. Mountain pushing palm. The blue-robed old man was slightly startled. He circulated 70% of his quintessence, and a resplendent jade-like light surged on his right palm. When the blue-robed old man pushed his palm out, it was like a mountain moved, pushing all the wind over. Bang! A loud sound rang out, and a huge pit appeared under the two. The white inattributed flame hidden in it flew out like thousands of catkins. The blue-robed old man took a step back, moving 100 meters with each step. When he landed, he left a dent in the ground. Heavenly lightning tribulation. Xiao Chen's aura flourished. He did not take a single step back. He turned into the heavenly Tao and laid down a second lightning tribulation. The blue-robed old man's aura weakened, and he was knocked back another 100 meters. Divine lightning tribulation. When the final lightning tribulation descended, the blue-robed old man retreated 500 meters with a pale complexion. He had not expected that even after using 70% of his quintessence, he still could not block Xiao Chen. Qi! Qi! Xiao Chen looked up and discovered that the blue-robed old man's body was covered in burning quintessence at some point in time. In that instant, the blue-robed old man's aura soared wildly, reaching peak inferior-grade martial monarch. A strong wind blew behind him, kicking up wind everywhere. Quickly, run, Xiao Chen. He is burning his quintessence. Furthermore, he is using the extreme flame to burn it. You are definitely not a match for him, Eo Jiao said quickly from the lunar shadow saber. Burning quintessence was a technique that only martial monarchs could grasp. It drained their quintessence several times faster to increase their strength. Martial monarchs would not burn their quintessence unless they had no other choice. Furthermore, if the other party used the extreme flame to burn his quintessence, his strength would increase even more. Xiao Chen understood the severity of the situation. He sheathed his saber and quickly retreated. You are still thinking of running at this time? The blue-robed old man snorted coldly, and his figure flashed. In the blink of an eye, he caught up to Xiao Chen. Everywhere he passed, the quintessence flames on his body burned a large patch of empty space. The blue-robed old man's palm wind was like thunder, pressing toward Xiao Chen's back. A sense of extreme danger appeared in Xiao Chen's heart. His face sank, and he quickly turned around. Then, he crossed his arms and materialized the stance of a dragon and a tiger. A dragon in the left hand and a tiger in the right. The dragon roared and the tiger roared, crouching tiger hidden dragon. Bang! The palm strike landed on Xiao Chen's arms, and he vomited a mouthful of blood. He tumbled a few times in the air before landing firmly on the ground after twisting his body. Xiao Chen's qi and blood surged. The blue-robed old man's burning quintessence surged through his meridians. His internal organs were instantly damaged, and he felt intense pain. After wiping off the blood from his lips, Xiao Chen knelt on one knee and smiled at the blue-robed old man. He said, "You truly are a martial monarch expert. You can injure me to such an extent with just one palm strike. I will exchange pointers with you in the future. I will definitely return this palm strike." The blue-robed old man knew Xiao Chen and mocked him for bullying the weak. He said in a cold voice, "Even at death's door, you still dare to be stubborn. Even if you are a king-grade true dragon, you will have to kneel here today." Boom! However, just at this moment, a blazing fire suddenly surged out from Xiao Chen's right eye. The purple thunder true fire covered the sky as it moved towards the old man. Its aura was very horrifying. Insignificant skill. This old man has played with fire all my life. A large clump of pale white flames appeared on the blue-robed old man's right hand. There was an origin flame the size of a chicken egg in that flame, looking as resplendent as a star. The blue-robed old man casually waved his hand, and this clump of flames blasted apart the purple flames that covered Xiao Chen. They turned into sparks drifting down. The blue-robed old man revealed a cocky expression. He had cultivated his extreme flame for 50 years. His origin flame was even stronger. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen dared to play with fire with him. However, the instant the flames scattered, the blue-robed old man's complexion turned green. He saw 81 figures of Xiao Chen in front of him. It was hard to tell which one was the real one. All of them flew in 81 different directions. If the blue-robed old man had personally seen Xiao Chen execute the roaming dragon's 9 transformations, he might have been able to tell which one was the real one. However, now that he faced 81 figures, how could he tell which was the real one? Damn it! The rage on the Holy Fire Manor's first Manor Lord's face was indescribable. A bona fide martial monarch expert had used the extreme flame to burn his quintessence. Unexpectedly, a half-step martial monarch brat managed to escape. It was already embarrassing enough for the first Manor Lord to make a move against a junior. In the end, he failed to stop the other party, which was even more embarrassing. Fortunately, there were no outsiders here. Otherwise, if word of this spread, he would not be able to keep his old face. Bang! The blue-robed old man stomped heavily on the ground. He infused all his remaining quintessence and rage into this stomp. A long crack appeared in the ground. The energy in the crack was like a knife. As the crack extended, it even cut the air in half. "Big brother, what's going on?" A voice came from behind the blue-robed old man. It was the Holy Fire Manor's second Manor Lord rushing over. He had felt the blue-robed old man burn his quintessence and thought that the blue-robed old man had run into a strong opponent. The blue-robed old man calmed himself and said, "That person is Xiao Chen." The gray-robed old man suddenly understood. He said, "The first rank of the True Dragon ranking, the white-robed bladesman Xiao Chen, is the prime suspect for killing the first young master. Isn't he only a half-step martial monarch?" "How?" Seeing the blue-robed old man's hostile expression, the gray-robed old man quickly shut up. He said, "He ran off just like that. Will he come and cause trouble when we are hunting the Netherworld fire spirit?" The first Manor Lord said coldly, "If he dares, it would be fine if he does not come. If he does, we can kill him as well. We will be able to obtain some of the king's luck he has. Send people to guard the exit. I don't believe that he will not come out. After we subdue the Netherworld flame seed, we will come and settle the score with him. Don't be so rash in the future. Those who can become martial monarchs are definitely not mediocre. I have never seen anyone use essence to clash with quintessence. That is suicide," Ao Jiao, who was in the lunar shadow saber, chided. Xiao Chen had just consumed a 1,000-year-old spirit herb for treating injuries. He refined it for a while, allowing the medicinal energy to seep into his internal organs even faster. After a while, he vomited a mouthful of blood, and his complexion looked much better. When Xiao Chen heard Ao Jiao's words, he stood up and smiled. "It's fine. I know what I'm doing. After exchanging moves with that person, I gained a better understanding of my own strength." After the Five-Nation Youth Competition, Xiao Chen's strength had soared. However, he had not found a suitable opponent. Among the half-step martial monarchs, no one could interest him. The blue-robed old man happened to be an inferior-grade martial monarch. By exchanging moves with him, Xiao Chen could gain a better understanding of his own strength. Chapter 6:15. With Xiao Chen's current combat prowess, a regular inferior-grade martial monarch would not be a match for him if he did not burn his quintessence. If Xiao Chen encountered an inferior-grade martial monarch like the blue-robed old man who could use the extreme flame to burn his quintessence, there would be a gap. If Xiao Chen could advance to martial monarch and refine his essence into quintessence, the blue-robed old man would not last more than 10 moves against him, even if he burned his quintessence. Compared to Xiao Chen, aside from having an advantage in quintessence, the blue-robed old man's martial techniques, cultivation techniques, and combat techniques were inferior. If Xiao Chen used the Purple Thunder True Fire to burn his quintessence, the blue-robed old man would not even be able to last 3 moves. A fervent look flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes as he looked around. Then, he said, "Let's not talk about this anymore. Where is Ao Jiao's spirit vein's origin? I can't wait to see it. Head northeast. Walk 10 kilometers. You should be able to see a small hill. There is a restriction that the Thunder King left there. I'll help you open it." 10 kilometers was not too far. Xiao Chen looked around. Although he felt a strong urge to rush over, he was not that rash. Xiao Chen sat cross-legged on the ground again and continued to treat his injuries. He ensured that he would not sustain any injuries and rushed over in his best state. After 1 hour, Xiao Chen opened his eyes. He felt energized. He pushed off the ground and turned into a flood dragon rushing over. However, before Xiao Chen got far, he ran into some trouble. 10 odd ferocious fire spirits blocked his way. Xiao Chen had seen fire spirits in the Scarlet Blood prison, so he did not panic. He knew how to deal with these inattributed fire spirits that did not feel pain. A clump of Purple Thunder True Fire appeared with Xiao Chen's right hand. A purple light flickered in his eyes, and the flame on his palm glowed with a dazzling light. Xiao Chen had taken out his origin flame. The might of the Purple Thunder True Fire, which contained the origin flame, was completely different from before. When Xiao Chen saw the fire spirits flying over, he shouted, "Life bestowal spell." The flames immediately took shape and eventually turned into 10 sharp short swords. Xiao Chen swung his right hand, and the short swords shot out. Bang! Bang! Bang, bang, bang! The purple flame short swords of extreme yang stabbed into the hearts of these fire spirits and immediately exploded. The 10 troublesome fire spirits were instantly blown into countless sparks. Xiao Chen smiled faintly, and a purple light flickered in his right eye. The short swords in the air turned into 10 beams of light and returned to his right eye. Relying on the short sword formed by the purple thunder true fire, Xiao Chen swept his way forward. After 15 minutes, he arrived at the hill that Ao Jiao mentioned. The hill was not large, not more than 200 meters tall and stretching for 300 meters. It was black in color and looked extremely ordinary. There were countless similar hills in this underground world. The source of the spiritual vein is below here. Xiao Chen walked around the hill and did not feel anything special about the spirit qi here. No matter how he looked at it, it was just an ordinary hill. Ao Jiao nodded and said, this spiritual vein's origin isn't suppressed by a spiritual gathering array, so the spiritual energy is leaking all year round. The Thunder King took half of it back then. He was afraid that someone would discover this place, so he casually laid down a restriction. Wait for me for a while. Xiao. Right after Xiao Chen spoke, Ao Jiao flew out of the lunar shadow saber. The glow of the saber immediately dimmed significantly. It had been a long time since Xiao Chen had seen Ao Jiao in person. He sized her up carefully and discovered that she had not changed at all. She was a head shorter than Xiao Chen. She looked like a little girl, and her sexy figure was the same as before. Looking at the mound in front of her, Ao Jiao revealed a nostalgic expression. She sighed and quickly formed hand seals with her hands. When she was done, she pointed with her dainty right hand and said, "Open." Before Xiao Chen's astonished gaze, the solid hill split in half. A surging spiritual energy surged out. Don't just stand there. Quickly go in. If the 2 people from the Holy Fire Manor sense this spiritual energy, we will be in big trouble. Xiao Chen understood this principle. His figure flashed, and he turned into a purple light. Then, he instantly entered the tunnel at the foot of the hill. Ao Jiao entered after him. She formed hand seals again, and the hill closed up, returning to its ordinary state. The blue-robed old man and the gray-robed old man, who were heading for the netherworld flame seed in the distance, frowned at the same time. After advancing to martial monarch, cultivators would start cultivating mental energy. They were extremely sensitive to the changes in spiritual energy. At that moment, both of them sensed an abnormally powerful spirit qi gushing out abruptly. The gray-robed old man said, "Big brother, should we go and take a look? The Heavenly Extermination Lake is where the Tianwu dynasty's imperial capital used to be. A strange treasure might have appeared there. I'll go and take a look. Later, you can deal with the netherworld fire spirit," the blue-robed old man said after some thought. The tunnel was dark and gloomy. A dense spiritual fog lingered in the surroundings. The walls were covered in dew formed from spiritual energy. It looked like they had not dissipated even after thousands of years. There was no need to cultivate here. All one had to do was open their mouth and inhale, and their cultivation would increase instantly. However, Xiao Chen did not dare to inhale. The spiritual fog contained many impurities. The cave was not ventilated all year round. These impurities would cause significant harm to the physical body. Xiao Chen could only watch helplessly. As Xiao Chen walked forward, the spiritual fog dissipated at the end of the tunnel. An underground river appeared before his eyes. The water gushed, and a fragrant spiritual energy assaulted his nose. The entire river was actually made of spiritual liquid. Xiao Chen sighed and said, "This is really an extraordinary waste. How much spiritual energy has been wasted after 5,000 years, allowing a spirit river to flow continuously?" Ao Jiao, who was following behind Xiao Chen, smiled slightly. She said, "How ignorant. It is just the lowest grade spirit vein. You will know when you go to the Kunlun realm." When you see the heavenly spring ancient river, you will know what a true spirit river is. After being looked down upon by Ao Jiao, Xiaochen smiled embarrassedly. He could not refute her. He knew that spirit veins were divided into different grades. However, he was not clear on how they were divided. The end of the spirit river was where the spirit veins' origin was. The two of them walked forward. Along the way, Ao Jiao explained the different grades of spirit veins to Xiaochen. Spirit veins were divided into 5 ranks, from lowest to highest. Rank 1 spirit veins were the most ordinary. There would not even be any spirit stone mines around them. Only rank 2 spirit veins would have spirit stones. The heavenly saber pavilion had a rank 2 spirit vein. However, the spirit stones that a rank 2 spirit vein produced were mostly inferior grade spirit stones. Medial grade spirit stones were rare. Only rank 4 spirit veins could produce large amounts of superior grade spirit stones. Rank 4 spirit veins were also known as peak spirit veins. There were less than 5 peak spirit veins in the Tianwu continent. Furthermore, they were in a state of near exhaustion. They could no longer produce large amounts of superior grade spirit stones. Rank 5 spirit veins were known as holy spirit veins. There was not a single one in the Tianwu continent. Even in the Kunlun realm, they were extremely precious. As they spoke, the two of them reached the end of the spirit river. When Xiaochen saw the spirit veins' origin floating in the air, he frowned slightly. As they spoke, the two of them reached the end of the spirit river. When Xiaochen saw the spirit veins' origin floating in the air, he frowned slightly. Spiritual rain fell continuously in the spiritual fog, providing a sufficient source of water for the spirit river on the ground. In the middle of the spiritual fog, there was an azure ball of light floating quietly. Layers of comprehension spread out from the ball of light. An azure ball of light floated quietly in the center of the spiritual fog. Layers of comprehension spread out from the ball of light. Xiaochen smiled bitterly and said, "I'm afraid we made a wasted trip this time. My impression of the heavenly saber pavilion's spirit veins' origin is boundless, like I'm in the middle of a vast sea." However, Ao Jiao smiled happily and said, "Hee hee. Idiot master, you picked up a treasure, and you still don't know anything? You are even stupider than Master Blockhead." Xiaochen felt suspicious and asked, "What do you mean?" "With one look, I can tell that you have not seen the heavenly saber pavilion's spirit veins' origin. Even the peak spirit veins' origin is only 10 meters wide. How can it be boundless?" After thinking back, Xiaochen remembered that he had indeed not seen the heavenly saber pavilion's spirit veins' origin. Back then, he had only sat on the prayer mat for an instant. The boundless feeling was a scene that appeared in his mind. Ao Jiao continued, "No matter how well a spirit vein is maintained, as time passes, it will slowly weaken. I estimate the heavenly saber pavilion's spirit veins' origin is only 10 times larger than this spirit veins' origin. You came at the right time. The spirit veins' origin here is the limit of what your body can endure. This way, the risk of your body exploding is greatly reduced." Xiaochen looked at the spirit veins' origin with a fiery gaze. He could not help but feel excited. After advancing to martial monarch, he had refined his essence into quintessence. Another door on the path of cultivation was about to open to him. Ao Jiao stretched out her hand and asked Xiaochen for some superior grade spirit stones. She said with a calm expression, "Although the risk has been greatly reduced, it is not without risk. Remember this, don't be greedy. Don't let power cloud your rationality. When I am done laying the spirit sealing formation, you can go and swallow the spirit veins' origin. Remember what I said, don't ever forget it." Xiaochen nodded and said, "Go ahead and lay the formation." Ao Jiao waved her right hand and a strong wind blew, clearing away the dense spiritual fog. Only the beautiful azure spirit veins' origin could be seen floating quietly in the air. Xiao! Xiao! Spirit stones flew out from Ao Jiao's hands. After she tossed out a total of 108 superior grade spirit stones, she started to form hand seals. Finally, she pointed at the spirit stones one by one. The spirit stones immediately gave off a faint glow. Lines shot out from them and linked all the spirit stones together. An extremely complicated formation immediately appeared above the spirit vein's origin. Each of the 18 corners of the formation shone with a dazzling brilliance, sealing a part of the world inside. Ao Jiao said softly, "The spirit sealing formation is already laid. The spiritual energy in the spirit vein's origin will not leak out. Go ahead." Success or failure depended on this. Xiao Chen took a deep breath and floated up. He flew to the center of the formation and sat down cross-legged. The spirit sealing formation formed a formless plane in the air. Xiao Chen did not need to move it, he could make it float. That palm-sized rank 1 spirit vein's origin floated quietly above Xiao Chen's head. Boom! The instant he sat down, a surging river appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. The river was vast and mighty, as though it could destroy everything in the world. Xiao Chen's heart sank. He finally understood that what Ao Jiao said was true. The spiritual energy contained in this palm-sized spirit vein was at least 1/10 of the heavenly saber pavilion's spirit veins. Chapter 6:16. Maintaining his calm, Xiao Chen circulated the purple thunder divine incantation's 6th layer calmly. He slowly absorbed the surging spiritual energy from the spirit origin. As the river flowed, the crystalline qi whirlpool above his dantian quickly filled up. A strong energy spread throughout his body. In the time it took to breathe, Xiao Chen's cultivation soared rapidly. Normally, cultivating for 10 days to half a month would not even compare to one breath of time. This kind of instant increase in strength caused all the muscles in Xiao Chen's body to swell and his blood to surge. As his strength swelled, it put a lot of pressure on Xiao Chen's flesh and bones. The benefits of the firmament body tempering art's 6th layer manifested itself. Xiao Chen's muscles swelled and his blood vessels surged. However, it was still within his control. His skin did not burst from the swelling blood vessels. Cultivators had an innate desire for strength. When their strength increased, they would unconsciously feel an intense sense of excitement and satisfaction. As long as one was human, they would not be able to avoid it. Having excitement and satisfaction was not a bad thing. It could motivate cultivators to work harder. However, there was a limit to everything. Once there was too much, it would become a bad thing. At this moment, this excitement and satisfaction surged into Xiao Chen's mind 100-fold, 1,000-fold. It made him feel like his entire body was filled with energy, like it could increase endlessly. Faster! 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 Xiao Chen's heart roared loudly. His face flushed red, clearly excited. Ka Xie. When Xiao Chen's spirit origin was drained by 2/3, the purple crystalline qi whirlpool in his body doubled in size. The bottleneck he had been waiting for finally arrived. However, that boundless energy continued to pour in endlessly. That sense of excitement filled Xiao Chen's mind. It seemed like he could still increase it slightly. It would be a pity to waste so much spiritual energy. Don't be greedy. Don't let power cloud your rationality. Just as this thought appeared in Xiao Chen's mind, Ao Jiao's words rang out in his mind. He immediately came to his senses and stopped circulating the purple thunder divine incantation. The spirit sealing formation was filled with spiritual energy. The mist was extremely dense, but it was locked by the light curtain around the base of the formation. Not a single bit of it leaked out. Ao Jiao's gaze pierced through the light screen. When she saw the remaining spirit vein's origin above Xiao Chen's head, she heaved a sigh of relief. She smiled and said, "Since you managed to overcome the stage of desire in the ancient desolate tower, I knew that my stupid master would not be blinded by strength." The situation just now was extremely thrilling. If Xiao Chen didn't stop, his body would have been instantly burst by the skyrocketing spiritual energy, and he would have died without any chance of survival. The crystalline cyclone above his dantian had already swelled to its limit. Its spinning speed gradually slowed down, and in the end, it completely stopped moving. Xiao! The instant the crystal cyclone came to a stop, the mental power within his sea of wisdom abruptly surged. It flowed through the Tianmen acupoint on the top of his head to the main meridian in his dantian, and a powerful mental power flowed forth like a waterfall. The mental power started to refine the essence into quintessence. This was a very difficult stage for ordinary people. However, it was very easy for Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen had already opened his sea of consciousness long ago. His vast mental power was much stronger than his essence. Refining quintessence was very easy. As the mental power entered the crystal cyclone, it slowly melted. Dee-da! Dee-da! A melodious sound rang out in Xiao Chen's body. A purple liquid that was purer and stronger than the solidified essence appeared above Xiao Chen's dantian drop by drop. After that, it flowed through all the meridians in Xiao Chen's body. When Xiao Chen felt the purer and denser energy, he rejoiced. He muttered to himself, "Is this quintessence?" Originally, with Xiao Chen's vast essence, the process of refining quintessence would take at least 2 months. However, his mental power was more than 100 times stronger than others. This time was greatly reduced. After 1 hour, all the essence had been refined into quintessence. The purple quintessence circulated in the main meridians and minor meridians for a great cycle before returning to the dantian and forming 99 drops of purple liquid. Bang! Xiao Chen opened his eyes. The instant he stopped, the strong energy in his body spread out uncontrollably. The entire ground started to tremble. The blue-robed old man on the ground searched for a long time but could not find the source of the strange spiritual energy. Just as he was about to leave, the mound behind him suddenly trembled. The blue-robed old man soared into the air and cautiously sized up the unremarkable mound. Strong self-confidence flickered in Xiao Chen's eyes. He circulated a drop of purple quintessence and casually sent out a strand of saber chi formed from quintessence. In that instant, a long, pitch-black crack appeared in space. Sensing that the drop of quintessence was far from exhausted, Xiao Chen's right hand did not stop moving. He sent out 130 strands of saber chi in succession. The space in front of him was like a piece of cloth, shattering into pieces. Quintessence was quintessence. In the past, Xiao Chen had to use the thunder shadow chop to shatter space. Now, he could tear space with a casual strike. I finally advanced to martial monarch. Unable to contain the excitement in his heart, Xiao Chen landed beside Ao Jiao with a "so" sound. He smiled and said, "Ao Jiao, I advanced to martial monarch." Ao Jiao was happy for Xiao Chen in her heart. However, she maintained a calm expression and said, "Go back first and stabilize your cultivation. You still cannot control your quintessence perfectly." The two of them returned the way they came. When the mound above them opened up again, a ferocious palm wind pressed down. "After waiting for so long, it turns out that it is you, little bastard, who caused this commotion. Quickly take out the treasures that you obtained." The blue-robed old man had a ferocious expression. Quintessence covered his palm as he sent a ferocious palm wind at Xiao Chen's head. When faced with the sudden appearance of the blue-robed old man, Xiao Chen was startled at first. After all, anyone who was not mentally prepared would be shocked when suddenly attacked. After a while, Xiao Chen smiled gently. He had just advanced to martial monarch and had not had the time to test out his strength. The blue-robed old man had arrived at the right time. With a thought, the 3 drops of purple liquid in his dantian instantly poured into his meridians and turned into surging quintessence. Then, Xiao Chen sent out a punch. Bang! When the fist and palm met, a strong shockwave exploded out. In that instant, the 2 halves of the mound were shattered by the quintessence from the 2, kicking up a cloud of dust. Hu Qi! Hu Qi! The energy from Xiao Chen's fist was boundless and shockingly pure. The blue-robed old man was knocked back several dozen steps in the air before he could stabilize himself. When the blue-robed old man saw the light flickering on Xiao Chen's fist, he said in astonishment, "This is quintessence. How did you advance to martial monarch in just half a day?" The blue-robed old man could not be blamed for being astonished. When a regular cultivator reached the bottleneck of half-step martial monarch, they would open their sea of consciousness. Then, they would cultivate their mental energy and refine their essence. Only when they finished refining their essence would they be considered martial monarchs. Cultivators with strong talent for mental energy would need at least 3 months to do this. Those with weak talent for mental energy would need at least 2 or 3 years. Very few people could be like Xiao Chen. From the very start, his cultivation technique tempered his mental energy. Furthermore, he managed to open his sea of consciousness when he was a martial king. Mental energy was much stronger than essence. Even though Xiao Chen had reached the bottleneck of half-step martial monarch, his mental energy was still stronger than his essence. Hence, the speed at which he refined quintessence was astonishingly fast. Xiao Chen said calmly, "There is no need for a person who is about to die to know so much. Earlier, you gave me a palm strike. Now, I will return the favor with a fist strike." However, the blue-robed old man laughed loudly. "So what if you advance to martial monarch? I became a martial monarch 10 years ago. My control of quintessence is incomparable to yours. This place is where the imperial capital of the Tianwu dynasty used to be. You must have obtained some miraculous medicinal pill. Otherwise, you would not have advanced to martial monarch so quickly. You just consumed the medicinal pill. Your body will not be able to digest it completely. After I capture you, I will extract your blood, skin you, and refine you again. My cultivation will definitely reach peak inferior grade martial monarch." Chi! Chi! Right after the blue-robed old man spoke, a faint blue quintessence appeared on his body. As the extreme yin flame burned, the quintessence turned into a pale white halo that surrounded him. His aura soared as he prepared to take down Xiao Chen in one move. Mountain pushing palm. After the blue-robed old man burned his quintessence, he sent out a palm strike. The air flowed in reverse. The force of his palm strike seemed to push the entire space. A strong pressure pressed down on Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen felt a slight pain in his bones, flesh, and skin. A regular cultivator would have been crushed into a meat patty before the palm strike arrived. Xiao Chen circulated his vital qi and his strong physical body immediately became as hard as frost iron. He stood there like a mountain, allowing the wind to press down on him without moving. When the other party's palm strike was about 100 meters away, Xiao Chen circulated all 99 drops of purple liquid in his body. He finally made his move. He instantly drew the lunar shadow saber, giving off a dazzling light. Thunder shadow chop. Xiao Chen's aura flourished as he took 7 steps forward. With each step, he swung his saber. The quintessence on the saber surged, and every saber strike easily tore a tear in space. When he finished taking 7 steps, his aura reached its peak. The 7 afterimages merged and Xiao Chen swung his saber. The immortal state of thunder made the electric light on the saber eternal and inextinguishable. Furthermore, it worked with his 60% comprehended saber intent. The might of this saber strike was unimaginably great. The electric light exploded and broke through the blue-robed old man's palm strike. Xiao Chen searched for an opening and pressed his saber forward. The other party's protective quintessence blocked for a while before it broke. Pu Ci. The quintessence contained in the saber light knocked the blue-robed old man back a kilometer. It left a bloody wound on his chest. It was so deep that bones could be seen. The purple quintessence was like a berserk bolt of lightning as it surged through the old man's body. It shattered the quintessence coming out of the other party's dantian. It was simply unblockable. The blue-robed old man vomited a mouthful of blood. He paled as he looked at Xiao Chen in horror. He muttered, "That's impossible. You just advanced to martial monarch. How is it that even after I burned my quintessence, I still cannot block your quintessence?" A heaven-ranked cultivation technique. He must be cultivating a heaven-ranked cultivation technique. Otherwise, he would not have such strong quintessence after advancing. When the blue-robed old man thought of this possibility, he no longer hesitated. He turned around and fled. The other party possessed a heaven-ranked cultivation technique and was an absolute genius. After he advanced to martial monarch, even inferior-grade martial monarchs would not be a match for him. The first rank of the true dragon ranking could not be judged with common sense. Xiao Chen continued flying. As Xiao Chen watched the blue-robed old man flee, he sheathed his saber and stood still. He was not in a rush to give chase. The quintessence in his body surged, and dragon roars came from his abdomen. A strong wind howled and boundless shock waves spread out. Chapter 617. Blue Dragon Tail Whip. Xiao Chen shouted, and an ancient blue dragon appeared under his feet. The blue dragon tail swung gently, and an overwhelming force surged out. The blue dragon tail whip sent Xiao Chen's body flying in a long arc in the air, disappearing in an instant. Xiao Chen had cultivated the blue dragon cloud soaring art to small perfection long ago. However, he had always been limited by his cultivation, unable to bring out the true might of this heaven-ranked movement technique. Now that Xiao Chen had advanced to martial monarch, his quintessence surged. When the blue dragon tail whip was executed, its aura was extremely horrifying. A strong wind blew, and it arrived at the blue-robed old man's side. Spring Thunder Chop, Die. Accompanying the strong wind was the first move of Xiao Chen's four-season saber technique. Spring thunder roared in the sky. Xiao Chen used his quintessence to drive the cycle of seasons. When the saber chopped down, it gave off an unparalleled sharpness. The blue-robed old man felt a chill in his heart. Extreme flame, explode. The blue-robed old man knew he was no match for this unparalleled saber light. A pale white flame appeared in his palm. A white light as resplendent and dazzling as a star appeared in the center of the flame. This was the origin flame that the blue-robed old man had refined for decades. At the moment of life and death, he planned to explode this origin flame to buy time to escape. Who? The star-like origin flame flickered with light continuously. A horrifying energy spread out from it. Xiao Chen's face sank. That origin heart was already the size of a chicken egg. If it exploded, the power it would create would be terrifying. At such a close distance, Xiao Chen would definitely be injured. However, if he retreated, it would be difficult for him to catch up to the blue-robed old man. This person was a martial monarch. Furthermore, he was certain that Xiao Chen killed his son. Even if Xiao Chen was not afraid, he would still hurt his friends and family. If the other party became ruthless and hurt his friends and family, then it would be too late for regrets. This person must not be allowed to live. He had to stabilize this extreme flame first. After making up his mind, Xiao Chen quickly sheathed his saber and dissipated the force of this spring thunder chop. However, because he had just advanced to martial monarch, he had not reached the level where he could control his quintessence as he pleased. Some of his quintessence leaked out unavoidably, digging deep holes in the ground. Extreme flames, go! He casually tore off the blue strip of cloth in front of his forehead, and an even paler flame floated out from between his eyebrows. In the center of the flame, there was also a speck of white light that was as bright as a star. It was the lunar flame's origin core. It was only the size of a grain of rice, but when it flew out and collided with the egg-sized origin core, the extreme flame, which had been extremely restless and violent and was about to explode at any moment, instantly calmed down. The rice grain-sized origin flame ignored the origin flame, which was countless times larger than it, and climbed up to devour it greedily. The lunar flame was the flame of the highest grade among the attributed flames. No matter how much the extreme flame resisted, it would only be swallowed up. Xiao Chen didn't even look at them. He leaped over the two tangled flames and continued chasing after the blue-robed old man. Damn it! How did he catch up to us again? The blue-robed old man's face was ashen and he sped up once more. Blue Dragon Tail Whip. No matter how fast he was, it was impossible for him to escape from Xiao Chen, who had unleashed the true might of the blue dragon cloud soaring art. Spring Thunder Chop. Burning to desolation. Xiao Chen caught up to the blue-robed old man. This time, he did not give the blue-robed old man a chance to use his trump card. He executed both the spring and summer sabers consecutively. He used his quintessence to drive the power of the cycle of seasons. Heaven and earth trembled violently. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber. With these two sabers, the blue-robed old man's body turned into a pool of blood, his bones shattered. Amid the blood rain, a spatial ring flickering with a dim light appeared. Xiao Chen casually waved his hand, and the spatial ring flew over. Then, he tossed it into his universe ring and ignored it. Xiao Chen looked around and saw saber chi made of purple quintessence filling the air. They pierced thousands of holes in space, leaving pitch-black holes in it. Xiao Chen frowned slightly and said, "I just advanced to inferior grade martial monarch. I need to spend more time to control my quintessence. Otherwise, it will be very troublesome to fight a medial grade martial monarch like this." Xiao Chen calmly summarized the earlier battle. He did not feel any pride from defeating an inferior grade martial monarch. He was a king grade true dragon. He would not be inferior to anyone of the same cultivation. After cultivating a heaven-ranked cultivation technique and advancing to martial monarch by swallowing a spirit vein's origin, it would be strange if he could not deal with an ordinary inferior grade martial monarch. Boom! 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 At the same time, an intense battle took place in the lava in the distance. All sorts of explosions resounded without end. The lava did not have surging heat waves or boundless smoke. On the contrary, it was dark and gloomy, filled with a cold chi. It was incredibly gloomy, looking very strange. A green flower bloomed in the center of the lava. Its petals were jade green and crystalline. A gloomy green flame in the center of the flower gave off a dazzling light and a boundless chill. Needless to say, this green flame was the netherworld flame seed. There were two 10-meter-tall black fire spirits in front of the petals. The black fire spirits were different from regular fire spirits. They already had eyes, a mouth, and a nose on their faces. Their eyes flickered with light, clearly, they had some intelligence. There was also a layer of black cuticle on the surface of their bodies, looking like solid, natural armor. The people of the Holy Fire Manor fought the two netherworld fire spirits intensely. The gray-robed old man faced one netherworld fire spirit alone. The remaining half-step martial monarchs and peak martial kings of the Holy Fire Manor worked together to deal with the other. Based on the situation of the two sides, one could easily see the huge difference between a half-step martial monarch and a martial monarch. The gray-robed old man faced the netherworld fire spirit alone. Not only did he not lose, but he even held the upper hand. After another few hundred moves, the netherworld fire spirit would definitely lose. On the other hand, the group of 100 people, with 10 half-step martial monarchs, could only barely block the attacks of the netherworld fire spirit. They could only wait for the gray-robed old man to finish and come over to help. I wonder how long Big Brother will be gone for. If he were here, we would have been able to take away the netherworld flame seed long ago, the gray-robed old man thought to himself. However, he was not worried about the blue-robed old man's safety. Given his understanding of the blue-robed old man's strength, even if the blue-robed old man met a troublesome demonic beast, he should be able to escape easily. After Xiao Chen dealt with his opponent, he returned to where the Extreme Yin Flame and the Lunar True Flame were fighting. As the Lunar True Flame swallowed the Extreme Yin Flame's origin flame, it had shrunk significantly. However, it continued to resist tenaciously. The Lunar True Flame's origin flame was still too weak. If the blue-robed old man were still here, the Extreme Yin Flame might have been able to devour the Lunar True Flame under his control. However, the blue-robed old man was already dead, and Xiao Chen had rushed back. No matter how the Extreme Yin Flame resisted, it could not avoid its fate of being devoured. Xiao Chen's gaze sank slightly. He extended out his spiritual sense and took the initiative to control the Lunar True Flame. Chi. One had a master and the other had no master. The Lunar True Flame swallowed the Lunar True Flame at a much faster rate. Time slowly went by. After 1 hour, the last strand of light of the Extreme Yin Flame faded away. Xiao Chen's Lunar True Flame finally swallowed it all. Heaving a sigh of relief, Xiao Chen said softly, actively swallowing it like this really exhausted a lot of mental energy. However, the result is still satisfactory. The lunar true flame's origin flame in the air in front of Xiao Chen had already expanded from its original size of a grain of rice to the size of a pearl. Xiao Chen pointed casually, and the palm-sized lunar true flame crashed into a stone pillar. Pu ci. The stone pillar silently burned into a pile of rubble. The destructive power of the lunar true flame was a stark contrast to the berserk purple thunder true fire. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. Now that the lunar true flame already possessed some combat prowess, it would be very inconvenient to fight with it in the sea of consciousness. I already have the purple thunder true fire in my right eye. I'll put this lunar true flame in my left eye, then. Xiao! A light flashed, and the lunar true flame, together with the lunar true flame's origin flame, entered his left eye. Xiao Chen closed his eyes and familiarized himself with the lunar true flame in his left eye. After a while, Xiao Chen opened his eyes. A purple light spread out from his right eye, and a fierce flame burned endlessly. His left eye flickered with a white light and a cold chi spread out. It looked much weaker than his right eye. With a thought, the mysterious phenomenon in his eyes disappeared. Xiao Chen muttered, "If I want to execute the Taiji yin-yang flame diagram in the stage of desire, I need to achieve a balance between yin and yang. The lunar true flame is still too weak. Even if the might of the purple thunder true fire is reduced by half, it will not achieve a balance between yin and yang." Boom! At this moment, a muffled explosion resounded at the end of their line of sight. At the end of their line of sight, a cold flame soared into the sky, illuminating the dark underground space with a deathly white light. It should be another martial monarch of the Holy Fire Manor preparing to retrieve the Netherworld Flame Seed. Let's go and take a look. Circulating the blue dragon cloud soaring art, Xiao Chen immediately soared into the air. Quintessence circulated in his body, and dragon roars came from his body. An indistinct blue dragon appeared under Xiao Chen's feet. Carrying Xiao Chen's feet did not touch the ground as he moved up and down. His speed reached Mach 5. Xiao Chen's body tore through space, creating a long shock wave behind him. It was like two formless waves moving up and down. In less than 10 minutes, Xiao Chen arrived at the scene of the commotion. A vast expanse of lava filled his vision. Under the grey-robed old man's lead, the Holy Fire Manor's people attacked the final Netherworld Fire Spirit in an orderly fashion. Under the grey-robed old man's strong attacks, the Netherworld Fire Spirit was forced back. The morale of the Holy Fire Manor's people soared, and they were filled with vigor. On a mount, Xiao Chen's white robes fluttered as he looked at everything in front of him. Looking up, Xiao Chen saw the green flower petals behind the Netherworld Fire Spirit. There was a clump of green flame in the flower petals, giving off a boundless cold light. That is the Netherworld flower. However, the Netherworld flame seed does not seem to have matured yet. The Holy Fire Manor's people were too anxious. Back then, the mature flame seed that the Thunder King took away was orange, Eo Jiao said softly from the lunar shadow saber. Xiao Chen felt somewhat disappointed. An immature flame seed was like an unripe fruit. No matter how precious it was, its value would be greatly reduced. Let's go. There is no need to remain here. The flame seed had not matured yet, so Xiao Chen lost interest in fighting for it. He gave the blooming Netherworld flower one last glance before turning to leave. Wait a moment. If the immature flame seed is taken away, the Netherworld flower will immediately wither. From then on, there will no longer be a Netherworld flame. Rather than letting these people waste it, you might as well uproot the Netherworld flower and preserve the flame seed temporarily. Chapter 618. Xiao Chen stopped and muttered, "However, without the nourishment of yin energy, even if I uproot it, this Netherworld flower will wither soon." Eo Jiao smiled and said, "It's fine. Just store all the land in the universe ring. This Netherworld flower should be able to survive for about a year. When you go to the Kunlun realm, there is an immortal spirit ring for storing natural treasures. If you place this Netherworld flower in there, it will continue to grow. Furthermore, it looks like the Netherworld flower will mature soon. The Holy Fire Manor's people probably do not know much about the Netherworld flower. That's why they were so rash. Xiao Chen had always done things in a straightforward manner, swift and decisive. If there was no value, he would leave immediately. If there was value in preserving it, the moment Ao Jiao spoke, he took action. A dragon roar came from Xiao Chen's body, and an indistinct blue dragon appeared under his feet. In that instant, he leaped over everyone's heads and landed beside the Netherworld flower. Boom! When the Holy Fire Manor's people, who had just defeated the last Netherworld fire spirit, saw Xiao Chen suddenly appear, they were all startled. Their faces filled with rage. The grey-robed old man looked at Xiao Chen, who had his back to them. His heart immediately sank as he stared at Xiao Chen. The quintessence in his body surged, causing the grey-robed old man's clothes to flutter. The surrounding people all felt a significant pressure. Who are you? Why are you snatching my Holy Fire Manor's Netherworld flame seed? The grey-robed old man's aura pressed down on Xiao Chen like a strong wind. His pupils constricted, and a murderous intent spread out. He clenched his right fist tightly, preparing to attack at any moment. Xiao Chen's back faced the crowd. Under the pressure of the grey-robed old man's aura, he remained calm and collected. He said softly, "The Netherworld flower is nurtured by nature. How can it be your Holy Fire Manors? I want the flame seed. You all can go." Huh. What a nurtured by nature. What my Holy Fire Manor saw naturally belongs to my Holy Fire Manor. How is it your Holy Fire Manor's turn to speak? You can stay as well. The grey-robed old man sneered. The aura that he had been accumulating for a long time suddenly erupted, and the shockwave caused dust to fill the sky. Stomping heavily on the ground, the grey-robed old man soared into the sky like a ferocious tiger, throwing a punch at Xiao Chen. The wind howled, and quintessence covered his fist, giving off a faint glow. Hearing the sound of the wind, Xiao Chen turned around and faced the ferocious punch. Unfazed, Zhang Xian clenched his fist and drove half of the Jinqi in his body before sending a punch of his own. Bang! When the two fists collided, Xiao Chen did not move at all. On the other hand, the grey-robed old man, who rushed over like a ferocious tiger, flew back. The aura in his body turned chaotic, and he felt his arm go slightly numb. He looked at Xiao Chen with a strange expression. He clearly felt that Xiao Chen had just advanced to martial monarch. However, the surging quintessence far surpassed his. It's you. White-robed bladesman Xiao Chen. I have seen the True Dragon rankings name list before. It really is him, the first rank of this True Dragon ranking. Furthermore, he is a king-grade True Dragon genius. Even the geniuses of the 10 great sects and 8 noble clans lost to him. Isn't he only a half-step martial monarch? How did he advance to martial monarch in less than a month? When the grey-robed old man saw Xiao Chen's appearance, his expression changed drastically. The Holy Fire Manor's people behind him also started discussing this matter. The grey-robed old man's expression sank completely. He said, "I only used 60% of my strength earlier. If you think you can defeat me with that, you are too naive." The grey-robed old man shouted and circulated all the quintessence in his body. Then, he instantly burned it with an extreme flame. A blazing quintessence flame appeared on his body. The grey-robed old man's aura rose to peak inferior grade martial monarch, forcing the surrounding cultivators to take a few steps back. That oppressive aura was not something they could endure. Tiger roaring mountains and rivers. A huge ferocious tiger image materialized behind the grey-robed old man as he charged over again. He circulated all 99 drops of quintessence in his body and circulated his vital chi as well. Quintessence and vital chi merged as Xiao Chen executed the first move of the Dragon Claw Fist, Berserk Dragon. A realistic dragon head appeared on Xiao Chen's fist. The Berserk Dragon roared ferociously as it punched. Boom! The tiger and dragon clashed, roaring continuously. The instant the fists clashed, the tiger image behind the grey-robed old man crumbled. He vomited a mouthful of blood and went flying back. I never said that I would use my full power. Xiao Chen leaped forward and executed the blue dragon cloud soaring art. A blue dragon image flickered under his feet. In a breath, he caught up to the gray-robed old man. Berserk Dragon Claw. Xiao Chen formed his left hand into a claw and swung it back. 5 azure-colored claw marks appeared and knocked the gray-robed old man back again. A dragon roar resounded in Xiao Chen's chest. He brought out his small perfection blue dragon cloud soaring art to its limits. Xiao Chen stood on the blue dragon image and moved up and down in midair, alternating between punches and claws. Bang! 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 At first, the gray-robed old man could still keep up with Xiao Chen's rhythm. After exchanging a few moves, he slowly fell into a passive state, getting beaten up. Quintessence exploded on the gray-robed old man's body. The sound of bones breaking rang out continuously. The fists and claws did not stop. In midair, Xiao Chen sent the old man flying like a sandbag. He only stopped after flying for 1,000 meters. The group of Holy Fire Manor's elders and elite members were all dumbfounded. They could not believe what they saw. Normally, the second Manor Lord was an undefeatable existence in their eyes. Unexpectedly, he was beaten up by a youth to the point where he could not retaliate. It was extremely tragic. A king-grade true dragon genius is not something we can imagine. He is already so powerful when he just advanced to Martial Monarch. Indeed, the second Manor Lord has already advanced to Martial Monarch for almost 5 years. However, he could not retaliate at all. This operation is probably going to fail. Even if the first Manor Lord comes, he will not be a match for him. Berserk Dragon Break. Xiao Chen roared ferociously. The azure dragon head on his right hand and the dragon claw on his left merged, forming a complete blue dragon. Then, it soared towards the gray-robed old man. Bang! The gray-robed old man, who had just gotten up, vomited a large mouthful of blood. He could no longer get up. The surrounding Holy Fire Manor cultivators were all frightened. No one dared to make a sound. No one dared to go over and help. The strength that Xiao Chen displayed was not something that people of their level could interfere with. The gray-robed old man was severely injured. When he saw Xiao Chen walking over, he said hatefully, "The first Manor Lord will be rushing over soon. White-robed brat, you will not be able to escape death in the end." Xiao Chen said softly, "Sorry to disappoint you. He will never be coming." "You killed him." The gray-robed old man exclaimed in extreme shock, his final hope dashed. Xiao Chen did not answer the gray-robed old man's question. He casually flicked a strand of purple flame through the gray-robed old man's forehead and took away his spatial ring. Just as Xiao Chen was about to leave, he discovered a pale white flame coming out of the gray-robed old man's corpse. There was an origin flame the size of half a chicken egg in the flame. Xiao Chen was slightly stunned. He said, "This is a pleasant surprise." The lunar true flame surged out from Xiao Chen's left eye. After it swallowed up the origin flame, the lunar true flame's origin flame expanded once again. The lunar flame, which had been extremely weak all this while, finally had some killing power. After Xiao Chen finished doing all this, he turned around and discovered that the other elders of the Holy Fire Manor and the many Martial King elites had all scattered, disappearing without a trace. Xiao Chen could not be bothered with you. He gently waved his right hand, and the lunar shadow saber appeared in his grasp. Then, he slowly floated above the netherworld flower. Xiao Chen lowered his head and looked at the lava below. Then, he looked around and felt confident. Xiao Chen drew the lunar shadow saber and swung it at the ground 4 times. 4 strands of purple saber chi shot out from the saber's edge. Ka-cha! Ka-cha! 4 cracks connected to each other appeared on the ground. It was like a piece of tofu. Xiao Chen's saber chi carved out a perfect square. The netherworld flower bloomed quietly in the center. Rise! Xiao Chen leaped down and smacked the ground heavily with his palm. The ground trembled violently. The square piece of land separated by the crack slowly rose up under the force of this palm. After it rose to a height of 100 meters, Xiao Chen circulated all the quintessence in his body and chopped it in half. Xiao Chen separated the huge piece of lava, which contained the netherworld flower, just like that. A dim light flashed in the universe ring. Xiao Chen moved the piece of lava into the universe ring. I'll leave from above. I just advanced to martial monarch. I have to find a place to familiarize myself with my current strength. After Xiao Chen did all this, he looked up at the rock a kilometer above him. He could feel that the rock was not particularly hard. Xiao Chen pushed off the ground and leaped up. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched upwards. A hole immediately appeared in the rock. Boom! After an unknown period of time, Xiao Chen punched a hole in the mountain range at the bottom of the lake. Then, he reappeared in the lake. After a while, he was like a flood dragon coming out of the water. He kicked up huge waves and the fresh air that he had not experienced in a long time blew over. After flying around, Xiao Chen found an uninhabited island. He immediately landed and took out the spatial rings of the two martial monarchs. There was some anticipation in his eyes as he smiled faintly. The spatial rings of martial monarchs should not be too poor. I hope there will be some gains. First, Xiao Chen opened the spatial ring of the grey-robed old man. Then, he looked around and immediately discovered more than 5,000 superior-grade spirit stones filled with spiritual energy. What Xiao Chen lacked now were superior-grade spirit stones. Naturally, he accepted them without standing on ceremony. There were very few superior-grade spirit stones. However, there were a frightening number of medial-grade spirit stones, a total of 3 million. However, when Xiao Chen thought about it, it made sense. There were only a few rank 4 spirit veins that could produce superior-grade spirit stones in the Tianwu continent. It was easy to imagine how many superior-grade spirit stones they produced every year. On the other hand, there were many rank 3 spirit veins that produced medial-grade spirit stones in the Tianwu continent. Given the grey-robed old man's status, it was not strange for him to obtain such a large number of medial-grade spirit stones. As for the miscellaneous items, such as a few inferior-grade secret treasures and some earth-ranked spirit weapons, Xiao Chen did not have much interest in them. He casually tossed them aside. After that, Xiao Chen opened the spatial ring of the blue-robed old man. As the first manor lord of the Holy Fire Manor, he should have more wealth than the grey-robed old man. Indeed, after Xiao Chen opened the spatial ring, he counted the number of superior-grade spirit stones. There were more than 10,000 medial-grade spirit stones. There were even more medial-grade spirit stones, a total of 5 million. In total, Xiao Chen had a total of 8 million medial-grade spirit stones. Chapter 619. Unfortunately, now that Xiao Chen had advanced to martial monarch, he could only use so many medial-grade spirit stones as currency. They were of no use to him. Martial monarchs could only cultivate with superior-grade spirit stones. The effects of medial-grade spirit stones were almost negligible. Everyone knew this principle. However, there were very few martial monarchs in the Tianwu continent who could use superior-grade spirit stones to cultivate every day. This was because superior-grade spirit stones were too rare in the Sky Dome realm. Regular martial monarchs could only use superior-grade spirit stones once in a while. They could only use medial-grade spirit stones to cultivate. This was the case for the grey-robed old man and the blue-robed old man. Otherwise, they would have exhausted all the superior-grade spirit stones in their rings long ago. Xiao Chen gained a deeper understanding of what Old Feng said about the Tianwu continent not being able to support so many geniuses. At this moment, Xiao Chen understood that if he wanted to maintain his previous cultivation speed, he had to go to the Kunlun realm. Remaining in the Sky Dome realm would only be a waste of his talent. Collecting his thoughts, Xiao Chen shifted his gaze to the netherworld flower in the universe ring. This was his greatest gain on this trip. If the lunar true flame consumed the netherworld flame seed after it matured, the lunar true flame's origin flame would definitely improve rapidly. The pile of lava in the universe ring occupied half the space. He could see the netherworld flower's core withering at an extremely slow pace. If I cannot find an immortal spirit ring in 1 year, this netherworld flower will probably die, Xiao Chen muttered as he withdrew his gaze. Ao Jiao smiled faintly and said, "Don't worry. Although an immortal spirit ring is precious, unless it is a peak immortal spirit ring, you will definitely be able to handle it." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and did not bother with this matter. He looked around and found a suitable empty space to start cultivating in. There was a huge difference between quintessence and essence. The former was more than 100 times stronger. This was the first time Xiao Chen grasped such a strong force. He needed to cultivate for a while before he could control it perfectly. Otherwise, when he fought, his quintessence would leak out uncontrollably, and he would not be able to control it properly. There were also some martial techniques that he could bring out after advancing to martial monarch, such as the blue dragon cloud soaring art, the dragon subduing slash, and the battle sage's origin strength character formula. He needed to comprehend these properly before he could execute them as he wished. The sun rose and set, one day at a time. Xiao Chen cultivated alone on the desolate island. Xiao Chen slowly familiarized himself with his control of quintessence. The might of the small perfection azure dragon cloud soaring art reached perfection. He could already use the first move of the dragon subduing slash. His quintessence to himself. And King Chen's much more. Chen's sovereign Chen's SS, Tian. The Chen's many Chen could to. To the King now, that the much to spirit King. Chen's many to Chen that. He, King many, spirit, he spirit that Chen's Chen to spirit had now. Many with kings. The sequelae of the dragon subduing slashes for season saber technique were much better than before. When Xiao Chen used his quintessence, his might was several times stronger than before. When Xiao Chen used his quintessence, the peak earth ranked 4-season saber techniques. 4-season saber technique increased the various mysterious phenomena of spring, summer, autumn, and winter. The most powerful was the battle sage's origin strength character formula. Once he used it, it could increase the combat prowess of any martial technique by 33 times. However, the quintessence that it exhausted was too heaven-defying. Even the vast 99 drops of quintessence in Xiao Chen's body were insufficient. Xiao Chen used it once, and it even overdrew on his body. Furthermore, this was only for an ordinary martial technique. If he used it on the dragon subduing slash, it would suck out all his flesh. No wonder Ao Jiao said that no one under martial monarch would be able to execute the strength character formula. The quintessence required was simply too horrifying. It could only be used as a trump card. After Xiao Chen advanced to martial monarch, all the accumulations that he had accumulated before becoming a martial monarch erupted out 10-fold or even 100-fold. With Xiao Chen's current strength, he could truly be called a king-grade true dragon genius. He was unrivaled within the same cultivation realm, a king among martial monarchs. Xiao Chen could casually squish a regular inferior-grade martial monarch to death. He would need to put in some effort to deal with a medial-grade martial monarch. If he ran into a peak medial-grade martial monarch, his chances of victory were at least 70%. He might even be able to hold his own against a superior-grade martial monarch. Of course, this only referred to the martial monarchs of the Tianwu continent. As for the situation in the Kunlun realm, Xiao Chen did not know, so he could not comment on it. When facing the geniuses of the other 3,000 great realms, the situation might be different. Their accumulations and talent might not be weaker than his. Furthermore, the situation would be unpredictable for the native geniuses of the Kunlun realm. Hence, Xiao Chen did not feel arrogant or complacent about his current strength. He still had a long way to go. This was just the beginning. On this particular day, Xiao Chen woke up from his cultivation. He casually tossed aside the 2 exhausted superior-grade spirit stones and opened his eyes. A purple flame burned in his right eye, burning endlessly. A white light flickered in his left eye, giving off an overwhelming cold qi. In the depths of his eyes, there was a speck of purple light and a speck of white light. They gave off a light that was even more dazzling than the stars. For the past few days, Xiao Chen had been trying to recall how he executed the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram in the space of desire. Now, he finally had some ideas. So, he decided to execute it and test it out. Shoo! The purple origin flame in his right eye flew out first. For the sake of maintaining balance, Xiaochen only drew out a portion of the purple thunder true fire's origin flame. After that, the lunar true fire's origin flame also flew out. It stood side by side with the purple origin flame in the air, separated by about 1 centimeter. Even though only half of the lunar true fire's origin flame was gone, it was still larger than the lunar true fire's. However, the lunar true fire's grade was higher than the purple thunder true fire's. If it could reach the size of the purple thunder true fire's origin flame, its might would definitely surpass the lunar true fire's. The extreme of yin was the lunar true fire, and the extreme of yang was the solar true fire. Only the solar true fire could match the lunar true fire. Although the purple thunder true fire was the purest of yang, it was still inferior in grade. The solar true fire was too far away. It was not something that Xiaochen could think about for now. So, he looked at the 2 clumps of origin flame in front. Xiaochen started to carefully test the might of the two. He had to achieve an absolute balance. Yin and yang intersected. Neither was stronger than the other. They could not reach a state where yin and yang could not coexist. Bang! 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 The purple flame and white flame crashed into the ground repeatedly. Xiaochen patiently checked the destructive power of the two. Repeating this, Xiaochen increased and decreased the purple origin flame's power. After thousands of tests, he finally confirmed that the two reached the absolute balance that he wanted. At this moment, the sky had already turned dark. The night sky was dark, and the sun could not be seen. Only 2 clumps of light could be seen in the pitch-black night sky. Yin and yang, move! Xiaochen shouted. His spiritual sense controlled the 2 clumps of origin flame, and they moved quickly between the 2 clumps of light. One purple and one white, the 2 clumps of light chased each other like fishes. However, there seemed to be an invisible curve between the two, separating them. Even if they chased each other for 10,000 years, neither would catch up to the other. Xiaochen's face lit up in joy. Slowly, he found a feeling. Everything that he experienced in the space of desire appeared in his mind, guiding him on what to do next. Yin and yang merge. Xiaochen shouted again, and a ring appeared around the 2 chasing fishes, tightly encircling them. Finally, a taiji diagram appeared. Xiaochen smiled faintly and felt even more at ease. His sea of consciousness surged as he infused even more mental energy into it. Boom! Yin-yang, the 4 divisions, and the 8 trigrams appeared around the ring. 2 gentle tornadoes appeared around Xiaochen, chasing each other and rushing into the clouds. Yin and yang break. The taiji yin-yang flame diagram finally took shape. Xiaochen shouted and pointed at the mountain in front. The taiji yin-yang flame diagram flew over. The taiji diagram moved quickly and pressed down on the mountain. Bang! 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 The mountain exploded from top to bottom. When the entire taiji yin-yang flame diagram landed on the ground, it completely flattened the mountain. Boundless dust quickly scattered in all directions. Joy flashed in Xiaochen's eyes. The might of the taiji yin-yang flame diagram far surpassed his expectations. Although it could not achieve the effect of severely injuring a peak martial monarch in the space of desire, the current taiji yin-yang flame diagram still had a lot of room for improvement. If the purple thunder true fire and lunar true flame improved further one day, killing a peak martial monarch might not be a dream. Withdraw! Xiaochen gently waved his right hand, and the taiji yin-yang flame diagram on the ground returned to Xiaochen with a xiao sound. The purple and white origin flames swam around happily. The 8 trigrams and 4 divisions appeared around the taiji yin-yang flame diagram. As the light circulated, the mental energy in Xiaochen's sea of consciousness drained quickly. Aside from the energy of the 2 flames, the taiji yin-yang flame diagram drained mental energy as well. However, it was still within Xiaochen's limits. With his surging mental energy, he should be able to execute this Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram 10 times in one day with ease. Xiao Chen, why does your Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram have the shadow of an immortal technique in it? Ao Jiao, who was in the lunar shadow saber, asked doubtfully. Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows and asked, why do you say so? Ao Jiao replied, disregarding the martial techniques of the few body tempering cultivators, the creation of any martial technique uses quintessence as a foundation. Only immortal techniques use mental energy as a foundation. Of course, the mental energy of immortal cultivators is refined. They call it magic energy. A thought occurred to Xiao Chen. He recalled what Leng Yu had said about immortal techniques. He asked, Ao Jiao, are there people in the Kunlun realm who cultivate immortal techniques? There are, but there are very few of them. Immortal techniques are a cultivation system from the previous epoch. After the destruction of the previous epoch, the laws of heaven and earth changed. It is no longer suitable for cultivating immortal techniques. The complete cultivation system for immortal techniques has already lost its inheritance long ago. Now, the cultivation system reigns supreme over the martial Tao. Furthermore, immortal techniques are not something that just anyone can cultivate. They are very profound and depend on one's immortal affinity. Since Xiao Chen asked, Ao Jiao told him what she knew. However, what she knew was limited, and Xiao Chen did not learn anything useful. However, there are many immortal sect remnants in the Kunlun realm. I think you are someone with an immortal affinity. You might be able to gain something if you go there. Xiao Chen smiled embarrassedly and avoided this topic. He said, Ao Jiao, come out and help me test the defense of this Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram. See how strong it is. Compared to the offensive capabilities of the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram, Xiao Chen valued its defense more. Although his physical body was strong, he lacked a strong defensive martial technique. Chapter 620. Ao Jiao flew out of the lunar shadow saber and looked at the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram in front of Xiao Chen. She said interestedly, I am now as strong as a peak martial monarch. How much of my strength are you going to use? Xiao Chen muttered, use half first. A peak martial monarch, that kind of person had refined their quintessence to the limit. Xiao Chen could not underestimate them, nor did he dare to be careless. Right after Xiao Chen spoke, Ao Jiao charged over. Her petite figure flickered in the air and punched the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram. Bang! The Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram gave off a bright light. Shock waves surged out, kicking up a strong wind in all directions. Amid the light, Ao Jiao somersaulted 3 times in the air before she managed to dissipate the force of the rebound. When Xiao Chen saw the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram glowing brightly with the 8 trigrams and 4 divisions, a look of astonishment flashed in her eyes. Her playful attitude from earlier diminished significantly. Xiao Chen felt somewhat dizzy. After enduring half of Ao Jiao's strength, only half of the mental energy in his sea of consciousness remained. Use your full power. Xiao Chen said with a grave expression as he clenched his teeth. Ao Jiao nodded, and her aura soared for some reason. She was clearly petite and cute, but she gave off a vast and majestic aura. This time, Xiao Chen's eyes did not capture Ao Jiao's figure. Her attack landed on the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram. Boom! The Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram exploded with light. The 8 trigrams and 4 divisions shattered one after another. Blood leaked out of the corner of Xiao Chen's mouth. The shockwave from the fist force knocked him back 8 steps before he could stabilize himself. Xiao Chen's qi and blood surged, and his internal organs trembled. However, he revealed a joyful smile. I succeeded. Peak martial monarch, only half a step away from martial sage. This was the cultivation of the heavenly saber pavilion's Shinmanjun. A newly advanced martial monarch was able to block the full power strike of a peak martial monarch and suffer only minor injuries. No one would believe this. Ao Jiao, who was in the air, had an unsightly expression. The instant the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram exploded, the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram exploded. The force of the rebound was doubled, which was equivalent to her taking on twice the force of the punch alone. Xiao Chen hurried over and asked, "Are you all right?" Ao Jiao regulated her breathing for a while and smiled. She said, "It's fine. If you had endured an attack twice as strong, you would have died for sure. The endurance of a peak martial monarch is greater than you think. So, if you meet a peak martial monarch, even if the other party is severely injured, do not let your guard down." The Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram could attack and defend, advance and retreat. Xiao Chen finally had a trump card that belonged to him. It did not originate from the Blue Dragon martial technique, nor did it originate from the Bai Clan's Four Seasons Saber technique, nor did it originate from the various secret techniques of the Battle Sage origins. In the 3,000 Great Realms, only Xiao Chen knew the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram. In the future, if he could collect both the Silver Titanium Flame and the Sun Flame, this move would definitely become famous in the Kunlun realm. After resting on the small island for a few more days, Xiao Chen started his journey back to the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. On the way here, he still needed to use the Scarlet Throne. On the way back, Xiao Chen directly used Quintessence to travel. His speed was even faster than the Scarlet Throne. However, it exhausted Quintessence. The Scarlet Throne did not exhaust much, so it could be used in many situations. 5 days later, the undulating Lingyun mountain range appeared in Xiao Chen's vision. The moment Xiao Chen landed at the foot of the mountain, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion disciples on guard immediately recognized him. "Senior brother Xiao Chen, you finally returned. The First Elder is looking for you everywhere," 2 disciples said respectfully when they saw Xiao Chen. By now, Xiao Chen was already a legendary figure in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. As word of mouth spread, he became someone who surpassed the Thunder King. Previously, Xiao Chen wanted to explain himself. However, the more he said it, the more ridiculous it became. He could only smile bitterly and accept it helplessly. "Why is the First Elder looking for me?" Under normal circumstances, the First Elder would not be in such a rush to look for him. The 2 disciples shook their heads and said, "I'm not sure. Go directly to the main hall of the Heaven Viewing Platform. I heard that an incredible person is coming." Xiao Chen nodded gently. He no longer hesitated and flew to the Heaven Viewing Platform. Xiao Chen stood on a blue dragon image and moved up and down in the air. Then, he disappeared from the eyes of the 2 disciples on guard. As the 2 disciples watched Xiao Chen leave, an envious look flashed in their eyes. "Senior brother Xiao Chen is becoming more and more powerful. I feel like his aura is no different from those Supreme Elders. There is nothing to be envious about. When we cultivate in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, senior brother Xiao Chen's king's luck will more or less be affected. In the future, while we might not reach senior brother's level, there is no doubt that we will surpass the others." "That's right. King grade true dragon luck. Right now, there are many people fighting to enter our Heavenly Saber Pavilion." After a few breaths, Xiao Chen landed outside the main hall and walked in. When he looked around, Xiao Chen discovered that something was wrong with the atmosphere in the main hall. All the Supreme Elders who were martial monarchs of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion were gathered here. Shen Manjun, who normally did not care about worldly matters, was also seated on a wooden chair. Everyone had a cautious expression on their faces. They all focused their gazes on a middle-aged man in purple robes in the main hall. That purple-robed man's aura was unfathomable. His aura was even stronger than Shen Manjuan's. He was a martial sage expert. "Xiao Chen, you are back." When Jiang Qi saw Xiao Chen, he quickly stood up to welcome him. He could feel Xiao Chen's aura. When he felt Xiao Chen's aura, Jiang Qi revealed an extremely joyful smile. The other Supreme Elders all revealed faint smiles as well. However, there was still worry lingering on their faces. Xiao Chen nodded and said, "First Elder, why are you in such a rush to find me?" Jiang Qi looked carefully at the purple-robed man and said, "That is the great Jin Nation's Sima clan's clan head, Sima Hong. He has brought a challenge letter, challenging you on behalf of Sima Lingxian." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "I will accept the challenge letter. Just come." Sima Hong stood up and looked at Xiao Chen. An oppressive aura pressed down on him like a mountain. He smiled faintly and said, "Not only do you have to accept this challenge letter, but I also want you to lose to Lingxian. Remember, you must lose. Otherwise, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion will be destroyed because of your decision, suffering the rage of a martial sage." The aura of a martial sage pressed down on Xiao Chen. It was like a mountain pressing down on his back, forcing him to bend his back and lower his head. Xiao Chen clenched his teeth and remained silent. He stored up the aura of a king-grade true dragon genius to resist the aura of a martial sage. Spiderweb-like cracks appeared on the floor under Xiao Chen's feet and spread out in all directions. Bang! 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 The martial sage had already misunderstood the power of the world. The pressure of his aura was already a formless attack. The floor of the hall cracked with a rumble. Broken rocks soared into the air and crashed into the ceiling. A surging shock wave spread out. Aside from Shen Manjun, all the martial monarch supreme elders of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion were forced back a few steps. "Don't yield, don't bend." Blood leaked out of a corner of Xiao Chen's mouth. He refused to bend his back as he stared at Sima Hong. At this moment, the satisfaction he felt from advancing to martial monarch vanished. It turned out that a so-called martial monarch was so weak before a martial sage. Even though the other party was just an inferior grade martial sage, just his aura alone was not something Xiao Chen could resist. "Xiao Chen, you absolutely cannot agree to this old thing. He is so shameless. Your king-grade true dragon luck will vanish if you lose to someone of the same generation. It will become an ordinary true dragon luck." Ao Jiao, who was in the lunar shadow saber, said angrily, "At worst, I will fight it out with him. He is just an inferior grade martial sage. Don't be rash." "I have a way to deal with him," Xiao Chen said calmly to himself as he stopped Ao Jiao. "Not bad. Under my pressure, you can still last for a long time." Sima Hong laughed loudly and withdrew his aura. "You better think it through. Do you agree or not?" The strength that Sima Hong displayed horrified the surrounding elders of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. Even if all the martial monarchs in the hall worked together, they would not be a match for him. It would even be difficult for them to injure him. The pressure on Xiao Chen lessened significantly. However, he did not relax. He said sullenly, "I will accept the challenge. However, I cannot lose without fighting." Sima Hong smiled coldly and tossed out a spatial ring. He said, "Sima Lingxian will be here 10 days from now. There are 10,000 superior grade spirit stones in here. I will not let you lose for nothing. It is just a show. Not only will you not suffer any losses, but you will also gain a large sum of superior grade spirit stones for nothing. I believe you will change your mind." After saying that, Sima Hong laughed and strode out of the palace with his head held high. Shen Manjun walked over and said, "Xiao Chen, don't worry. The Heavenly Saber Pavilion will not make things difficult for you. One martial sage is not enough to scare us." Currently, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion did not have any martial sages. If Xiao Chen really offended Sima Hong, he would not be exaggerating. Actually, Shen Manjun was not very confident in her words. Xiao Chen wiped away the blood on his lips and said softly, "Senior, there is no need to say that. Xiao Chen is in Qingyun Peak. Naturally, I will not sit back and watch as the Heavenly Saber Pavilion is threatened. I will write a letter to the Haotian sect. In at most 7 days, they will definitely send out a martial sage to hold the fort. At that time, this Sima Hong will not be able to do anything." Because the noble clans had produced martial emperors before, the quality of their bloodline geniuses was higher than that of the 10 great sections. However, in terms of overall strength, they could not compare to the 10 great sections. Furthermore, the Haotian sect had an even stronger main sect in the Kunlun realm. With the Haotian sect supporting them, the Sima clan would not dare to act recklessly. When the other supreme elders in the hall heard what Xiao Chen said, they all heaved a sigh of relief. The worry on their faces disappeared. When Xiao Chen saw this, he did not say anything. Sima Hong's strength was clear for all to see. It would be too much to ask them to help him. The strong reigned supreme. Since ancient times, this had been the only rule in the Tianwu continent. Xiao Chen was already very satisfied that these supreme elders did not make things difficult for him under Sima Hong's pressure. Qingyun Peak, Lu Rui's courtyard. Smoke spread everywhere. Xiao Chen and Lu Rui sat at a tea table, drinking tea and chatting. As the peak master of Qingyun Peak, Lu Rui already knew everything that happened in the hall. Worry appeared on her face. Chapter 621. When Xiao Chen saw the situation, he smiled faintly and grabbed the other party's hand. He said, "Don't worry. Sima Lingxian is definitely not a match for me now. The martial sages of the Haotian sect should arrive in 7 days." "That's right." Xiao Chen thought of something and took out 10 inferior-grade spirit-gathering pearls from the universe ring. He handed them to Lu Rui and said, "You are now a half-step martial monarch. When you break through to martial monarch, you can use these spirit-gathering pearls." When Lu Rui saw Xiao Chen's strong confidence in his words, she did not say anything more. As for the spirit-gathering pearls, she did not take them. Lu Rui revealed a smile on her charming face. She said, "There's no need. It will not be difficult for me to break through to martial monarch. It is just a matter of time. The spirit-gathering pearls will probably be precious even in the Kunlun realm. You should keep them." When Xiao Chen mentioned the Kunlun realm, Xiao Chen revealed a sad expression. He had to go to the Kunlun realm. However, once he went, if he could not become Emperor Wu, it would be very difficult for him to return. After parting like this, he did not know how many years it would be before he could see Lu Rui again. Lu Rui was in her prime. She was very pretty and in the prime of her youth. This was the best time of a girl's life. She placed all her love on him, whom she might never see again. The bitterness was hard to describe with words. Lu Rui could tell what Xiao Chen was thinking. She smiled sweetly, like 100 flowers blooming. She gently grasped Xiao Chen's right hand and said softly, "Don't overthink for me. When I first saw you many years ago, I knew that this insignificant Qingyun Peak would not be able to hold you back. You're lying dormant here just to fly higher. To me, the further you can go, the happier I'll be. Just don't forget about Qingyun Peak. There is Lu Rui waiting for you." A tender feeling appeared in Xiao Chen's heart. He enunciated every word clearly, "I will never forget in this life. I will definitely become a martial emperor in the Kunlun realm and return." The two of them stared at each other, speechless. In the remaining days, Xiao Chen did not immediately enter bitter cultivation. Sima Lingxian was no match for him. If they fought again now, even if the other party had reached the martial monarch realm, he would only be humiliating himself. He was collecting some ingredients for alchemy. In the compendium of cultivation, there was an alchemy recipe called the beauty retaining pill. It could ensure that a woman's appearance would not change for 1,000 years. The ingredients required for the pill recipe were extremely complicated. Xiao Chen planned to use the remaining half a year to refine this pill and give it to Lu Rui. In the blink of an eye, 6 days had passed. On this day, as Xiao Chen was taking inventory of the countenance-halting pill ingredients, he suddenly felt a strong aura flying towards the heavenly saber pavilion without any fear. "Xiao Chen, come out and fight." A loud shout resounded, spreading throughout the entire Lingyun mountain range. It startled all the disciples in the heavenly saber pavilion. Due to the other party's intentional support, sound waves spread out. The sound traveled further and further. All the cultivators within a radius of 250 kilometers heard this shout. Who was Xiao Chen? He was the champion of this 5-nation youth competition, someone who stood at the top of the younger generation. He was a king-grade true dragon genius. Unexpectedly, someone took the initiative to challenge him at this moment. All sorts of busybodies immediately became interested. Many figures flew towards the heavenly saber pavilion. When the elders of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion heard Sima Hong's voice, their expressions turned unsightly. The martial sages of the Haotian sect would arrive tomorrow at the earliest. Who would have thought that Sima Hong would arrive at the Heavenly Saber Pavilion 5 days in advance? He was not mentally prepared at all. Bang! 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 Sima Hong casually broke the restrictions in front of the gates. He brought the finely dressed Sima Lingxian and arrived before the heaven viewing platform in the blink of an eye. Xiao Chen put away the ingredients and leaped out of the window. He stood on a blue dragon image and arrived a kilometer in front of the two. Xiao Chen looked forward. Indeed, Sima Lingxian had already advanced to martial monarch. His aura was as strong as a peak inferior grade martial monarch's. Xiao Chen, there is no need for me to tell you what to do, right? If you do not lose, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion will be destroyed because of you, Sima Hong said coldly to Xiao Chen using his voice. Xiao Chen ignored him. He looked at Sima Lingxian and said, "There are many people here. Come with me to the heaven ascending platform to fight." Sima Hong looked at Xiao Chen's departing figure and smiled coldly to himself. "I hope you are more tactful. After destroying the luck of my Sima clan for 500 years, I do not mind taking the Heavenly Saber Pavilion down with me." "Father, I'm going," Sima Lingxian said to Sima Hong after taking a deep breath. Recollecting his thoughts, Sima Hong smiled faintly and said, "Go in peace. You have already advanced to martial monarch. The accumulations of a martial king will allow you to burst out with tenfold combat prowess. You will definitely win this battle and reclaim the king grade true dragon's luck. Then, you will enter the Kunlun realm in your most perfect state. The Sima clan will not fall because of you." Sima Lingxuan's eyes flickered with heavy confidence. He nodded gravely and said, "Wait for my good news." Sima Lingxuan's figure flickered continuously in the air as he chased after Xiao Chen. Eventually, he arrived at the huge drill grounds of the heaven ascending platform. Xiao! Xiao! The two landed on the drill grounds, one in front and one behind. Then, they each stood in a corner, facing the wind. The taller buildings of the heaven ascending platform were already filled with Heavenly Saber Pavilion disciples. They had never seen Xiao Chen make a move before. They also did not know that Sima Hong had pressured Xiao Chen. Their gazes were filled with excitement. They were filled with anticipation for Xiao Chen to display his might and defeat the great Jin nation's genius swordsman once again. "Senior brother Xiao Chen, do your best." His father was rude. Teach his son a lesson and beat him up until he scrammed back. "Right, that's right, scrammed back. Scrammed back. Scrammed back." Instantly, the entire mountain was filled with chants of "scrammed back." The voices merged together, causing the air to tremble. As of now, Xiao Chen was like the sun in the sky in the Heavenly Saber Pavilion. It would not be an exaggeration to say that he was the idol of all the disciples. However, the moment that Sima Hong arrived, he chased Xiao Chen out. There was no lack of hot-blooded youths among the mountain disciples. Who cared if you were a martial sage or not? This was the Heavenly Saber Pavilion, the great Qin nation's Heavenly Saber Pavilion. This was Xiao Chen's home ground. If they did not help Xiao Chen regain his dignity, who would? Sima Lingxuan's expression turned sullen. Even though he was only ranked third on the True Dragon ranking, no one in the great Jin nation dared to speak to him like that. He had never suffered such humiliation before. Boom! After Sima Lingxian advanced to martial monarch, his strong aura erupted together with the rage in his heart. A strong wind blew, and the clouds churned. The sword in Sima Lingxuan's hand hummed and infused with quintessence. He pointed it at Xiao Chen, and the sword qi made of quintessence shot out, tearing thin cracks in the air. Before Sima Lingxian made a move, he had already displayed his strength. When some of the supreme elders of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion saw this, they felt fear in their hearts. Just based on the strength that Sima Lingxian had displayed, some of the inferior grade martial monarchs among them would not be a match for him. Some of the medial grade martial monarchs would not have more than a 60% chance of defeating him. No one had seen Xiao Chen make a move after he advanced to martial monarch. They could not help but feel worried for Xiao Chen. Sima Lingxian said in a cold voice, "Xiao Chen, the accumulation of my cultivation as a martial king is beyond your imagination. Back then, you defeated me in 10 moves. Today, I only need 1 move to defeat you." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said unconcernedly, "You are wrong about one thing. It is not that you forced me to defeat you in 10 moves. Rather, it is that I am willing to defeat you in 10 moves. If I really wanted to defeat you, why would I need 10 moves? Let's see what ability you have to boast. The mandate of heaven is with me, the ruler of the world, the sword of kings." Sima Lingxian soared into the air. Winds blew behind him, and the sky changed color. It materialized a scene of all living things killing each other, 100 armies fighting, and a chaotic war between dynasties. Sima Lingxian was the one who would end this chaotic world. He had come with the mandate of heaven, using the sword of kings to command the world. He used the power of a dynasty to transform the state on his sword to resist Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen felt excited. No wonder Sima Lingxian was so confident this time. His state of kingship had improved by another level. Not only did it not stop because of his previous defeat, but it even improved further. However, this was still not enough. A dynasty would eventually fall. A true king would not use the power of a dynasty to fight an enemy. This was because he himself was an unrivaled king. There was no need for external help. If it were any other time, Xiao Chen would be interested in exchanging 100 moves with Sima Lingxian. After all, Sima Lingxian had his own unique side. If Xiao Chen fought with Sima Lingxian, he would definitely gain something. However, it was different now. There was an even more horrifying Sima Hong standing behind Sima Lingxian. As for losing without a fight, Xiao Chen had never thought about it. How could a king-grade true dragon lower its head and bend over in fear? If Sima Hong wanted to bury the heavenly saber pavilion with him, then even if Xiao Chen had to risk his life, he would make Sima Lingxian suffer a few layers of skin. He would let Sima Lingxian know what regret was. After Xiao Chen made up his mind, 2 resplendent star-like flames, one purple and one white, flashed in his eyes. Xiao! 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 The purple lightning origin flame and the lunar origin flame flew out and turned into 2 Yuenin chasing each other in the air. The mental energy in Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness drained continuously. Taiji Yin-Yang Flame Diagram. When the Taiji diagram formed, Xiao Chen shouted ferociously and pushed his right hand forward. The Yin and Yang flames formed a beautiful Taiji diagram. They intertwined and merged, turning into an unparalleled energy of primal chaos. Who cares about the mandate of heaven, materializing the power of the dynasty, or the everlasting Yin and Yang? I will break it with force. The Yin and Yang flames actually merged. How did he think of this? How did he do it? Jiang Qi and the other elders exclaimed in shock. What exactly is that diagram? How come I have never seen it before? Unexpectedly, the 2 extreme energies of Yin and Yang can merge in such a strange manner. The people of the Tianwu continent had never seen the Taiji diagram before. This was an eye-opener for Shen Manjun and the others, finding it incredible. Bang! 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 The Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram moved very quickly. It used absolute force to break the quintessence mysterious phenomenon of Sima Lingxian's sword strike. The new dynasty formed by the state of kingship behind Sima Lingxian fell back into the flames of war. Miserable cries resounded everywhere as the state of kingship completely crumbled. Pu Ci. The Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram crashed into Sima Lingxian's body, and a surging energy erupted. Sima Lingxian vomited a large mouthful of blood as his body flew back uncontrollably. The energy far surpassed everyone's expectations. When it exploded, shock waves surged and clouds appeared. The horrifying energy knocked Sima Lingxian off the heaven-ascending platform. Chapter 622. Sima Lingxian tumbled down the slope. His entire body was pierced by the strange rocks and shrubs. It was a tragic sight. Sima Lingxuan's internal injuries were worse than his external injuries. The purple thunder true fire and the lunar true flame burned his internal organs. The quintessence from his dantian could not protect his internal organs at all when the two flames spewed out. When the Heavenly Saber Pavilion disciples on the various buildings on the heaven ascending platform saw this scene, they could not react. They did not expect the battle to end so quickly. What was more, they did not expect the casual words they shouted at the start to turn into reality. Sima Lingxian really rolled back in a sorry state. He won. Senior brother Xiaochen really won. He used only one move to send Sima Lingxian rolling back. How powerful! I did not dare to imagine it. Ha ha ha. Serves them right. How delightful. Let's see if they still dare to show off their might in our Heavenly Saber Pavilion. After a long time, the crowd erupted in thunderous cheers, resounding endlessly. Their gazes toward Xiaochen became even more respectful. Such an outstanding talent was a disciple of their Heavenly Saber Pavilion. This made them feel a sense of pride that was hard to swallow. In the future, when they went out, they could say that Xiaochen was their senior brother and that they had personally seen him fight. The disciples of the other sects in the great Qin nation would probably die of envy. Xiaochen, you actually dared to make a move. No words could describe the rage in Sima Hong's heart. He had not expected Xiaochen to really dare to defeat Sima Lingxian in front of him. Furthermore, Xiaochen had defeated Sima Lingxian in one move. Even when Sima Hong wanted to save Sima Lingxian, he discovered that there was no chance. Sima Hong was a bona fide martial sage, one of the people at the top of the pyramid of the Tianwu continent. To him, Xiaochen was like an ant, he could crush him easily. However, today, he was slapped in the face by this ant. Furthermore, it was such a heavy slap. Unforgivable, absolutely unforgivable. If he did not kill Xiaochen, he would not be able to vent his anger. A sword appeared in Sima Hong's hand. It flashed in the air as though he teleported. Then, he sent a quintessence sword chi containing the power of the world at Xiaochen. It's over. Sima Hong actually disregarded his status and made a move against a junior. All the elders of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion paled. They thought to themselves in a panic, how could Xiaochen, an inferior grade martial cultivator, survive the sword strike of the martial sage? The sword energy that Sima Hong released looked ordinary and without any fancy moves. Even a medial-grade martial monarch could casually send out a sword chi that could pierce space and shine with sharpness. However, this strand of sword chi, the sword chi of a martial sage, did not pierce through space. Not even a tiny crack appeared in space, giving off an inconceivable feeling. The sword chi was long and narrow, dazzling. It seemed to glide along a unique trajectory between heaven and earth. As it approached, the light on the sword chi became more and more condensed. With the support of the power of the world, the sword light was traceless. The might of the sword chi increased with every passing second. Xiaochen's expression turned grave. He did not dare to be slow. He quickly raised his left hand, and the lunar yin-yang flame diagram on the ground appeared in front of him with a xiao sound. A vast and surging mental energy poured into the Taiji diagram in Xiaochen's sea of consciousness. The beautiful Taiji diagram instantly gave off a dazzling golden light. The 8 trigrams, yin-yang, and 4 divisions appeared as the Taiji diagram circulated. When Xiaochen stood on the ground, he seemed to be one with the world. Bang! The sword chi that Sima Hong sent out in rage crashed into the Taiji diagram. The yin-yang flame diagram instantly exploded, and a horrifying energy spread out. The huge drill ground was blasted into pieces in an instant. Countless rocks and boulders flew up from the sky, stirring up a cloud of dust that was blown away by the wind. A strand of sword chi shot out from the dust cloud at an even faster speed at the chasing Sima Hong. Dang! Sima Hong's expression changed slightly. He held his sword horizontally and blocked with his quintessence. Bang! There was another sound that was even more horrifying than the previous one. The dust cloud spread out again, and a vast, deep pit appeared on the ground. It extended at a visible rate. All the other buildings on the heaven ascending platform collapsed. Using this strand of sword chi as a shield, Xiao Chen's figure flickered. He stood on the blue dragon image and soared into the air. His complexion was pale, and blood leaked out of a corner of his lips. Xiao Chen's complexion did not look very good. Only his eyes were filled with vigor, not showing any signs of fatigue. The instant the sword chi containing the power of the world shattered the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram, the shock wave struck Xiao Chen's body, instantly shattering the quintessence in his body. The sword chi was unblockable. It was of a much higher grade than Xiao Chen's quintessence. Just the shock wave inflicted severe damage to his internal organs. If not for Xiao Chen's strong physical body, this shock wave would have severed all the meridians and shattered all the internal organs of a regular cultivator, killing them on the spot. He is not dead. When the supreme elders of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion saw Xiao Chen leaping out of the dust cloud, they all revealed expressions of pleasant surprise. Martial sages had already comprehended the power of the world. Although it was not much, as long as a trace of the power of the world was infused into their quintessence, its might would increase by several times. Unexpectedly, with Xiao Chen's cultivation realm, he was able to receive this sword strike. Furthermore, it seemed like he could still fight and was not at the brink of death. Shen Manjuan's expression sank. Xiao Chen cannot fall here. The luck of the Heavenly Saber Pavilion is already linked to his. If he dies, the Heavenly Saber Pavilion will be destroyed. Jiangqi, I order you to immediately gather the Divine Saber Camp and use the full strength of the sect to fight against Sima Hong. We cannot let Xiao Chen die here. Jiangqi did not hesitate and said, Disciple obeys. After Shen Manjun spoke to Jiangqi, she soared into the sky and flew away. She had a sullen expression as she shielded Xiao Chen. All the quintessence in her body surged wildly. Sima Hong, how old are you? Do you not care about your status at all? Unexpectedly, you made a move against a junior, Shen Manjun said expressionlessly. Sima Hong let out a long whistle, and a strong wind blew in all directions, dispersing the dust and revealing the dilapidated drill ground. Sima Hong stared at Shen Manjun and said coldly, Scram. I hate people who do not want face when I give them face. I already said it 6 days ago. As long as he loses to Ling Xian, everything will be fine. Today, this brat does not know what is good for him. Don't blame me for being merciless. There were already many cultivators in the surroundings of the heaven ascending platform. When they heard this, their expressions changed. Sima Hong actually ignored his status and threatened Xiao Chen to admit defeat. This was too shameless. Shen Manjun said sullenly, Have you thought of the consequences of killing someone in my Heavenly Saber Pavilion? Sima Hong laughed loudly and said, What is the Heavenly Saber Pavilion? Do you think you are one of the 10 great sects? I really do not care about you. Since you are not leaving, I will kill you first. Hu Qi! Hu Qi! A sword light surged and 2 strands of sword chi intersected, forming a cross-shaped sword light as it flashed towards Shen Manjun. A slender saber appeared in Shen Manjuan's hand. She brought out her 300 years of cultivation at full power. The saber light tore space apart. The cross-shaped sword light carried the might of heaven as it surged over. It broke all the saber techniques Shen Manjun executed, forcing her back 100 steps. Shen Manjun breathed out slightly. In the end, she managed to block the sword light of a martial sage. You are like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Sima Hong snorted coldly and appeared before Shen Manjun, who had just blocked the sword light. He brandished his sword and a chain of sword techniques spread out. Dang! 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 The sound of sabers and swords clashing resounded in the air. With every step Sima Hong took, heaven and earth seemed to take a step forward. That boundless aura was not something Shen Manjun could block, no matter how high her cultivation was. Every time Shen Manjun blocked a sword strike, she vomited a mouthful of blood. Her complexion paled even more. Scram! After 9 sword strikes, Sima Hong shouted ferociously. His sword gave off a bright light and its might increased. The sword light shot out and knocked Shen Manjun back. Shen Manjun's figure shot back like an arrow. She could not retaliate at all as she crashed into a mountain peak. The peak exploded and rocks fell. When Xiao Chen saw Shen Manjun's death, his eyes turned completely cold. He rushed forward and hacked down with his saber. Blue dragon goes to sea. 99 pillars of water shot out from the vast sea behind Sima Hong. The blue dragon leaped out of the water, and a 3-kilometer-long saber light flickered as it tore through the air and hacked down. Sima Hong's expression was somewhat surprised. He had not expected Xiao Chen to not flee and even dare to attack him. When the saber light arrived before him, he had no choice but to execute a screen of swords to block it. Wang! Wang! Sword chi hummed, and the power of the world surged out continuously. They intertwined and formed an indestructible screen of light. It contained the might of the world and seemed eternal and inextinguishable. Battle Sage Origins, Strength Character Formula, 33 times Combat Prowess. Xiao Chen roared wildly. He did not care about the consequences and exhausted all the quintessence in his body in that instant. The moment the might of the saber light approached Sima Hong, its might soared until it reached a frightening level. Bang! The screen of swords containing the might of the world and eternally inextinguishable shattered before this blue dragon goes to sea infused with the strength character formula. The saber light knocked Sima Hong back with a schwat sound. Sima Hong's clothes were torn, and his flesh was mangled. There was no place on him that was unscathed. He appeared to be in a sorry state. When he fell from the air, he vomited 3 mouthfuls of blood. Unexpectedly, he managed to knock back an inferior-grade martial sage. Furthermore, he is so injured. The onlookers who sensed this were extremely shocked, they did not dare to imagine it. Sima Hong was a martial sage. Unexpectedly, a martial monarch's killing move knocked him back. Xiao! Sima Hong only retreated 100 meters in the air before he regained his footing. The wounds on his body healed at a visible rate. An extremely sinister look flashed in Sima Hong's eyes. Earlier, Xiao Chen managed to block his sword strike. That was already embarrassing enough. Now, Xiao Chen even injured him in front of everyone. Originally, given Sima Hong's strength, even if Xiao Chen executed the strength character formula and the blue dragon goes to sea, he would not have been able to injure Sima Hong. However, Sima Hong had misjudged. He had used only half his strength to defend against the blue dragon goes to sea. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen was able to increase the might of the blue dragon goes to sea by 33 times in an instant. Since Sima Hong was caught off guard, he ended up in such a sorry state. Once again, he lost to Xiao Chen. You're tuning into the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.